There we go. Okay, my audio was there. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am back. I know was just here yesterday, and we are running things a little together. So my guest, Mrs. She said, is not here. However, she does have an emergency, and she may tune in tonight. Hopefully, everything works out. It is the end of Ramadan, and there are a lot of celebrations going on, and she is of the Muslim faith. So we hopefully she joins in, but I'm gonna start the segment a little early without her. And when she joins in, she'll join in. But we will not be here long today. We may even have to do a part two, but it is it is okay for us to talk about this uh, for the time being. You know, because I definitely like to talk about things that are not popular. But what I want to do is just kind of introduce the topic to everyone, just so you'll understand exactly why we're here having this conversation. Uh, so there was a post on Mrs. She Says page on her social media page, and it was referring to the state of women in today's society, and that shame has essentially been it's went up in smoke. No one has it anymore, or at least the majority of us. And the idea was we need to bring shame back. And when I seen it, I had to pause and ask myself, what do you mean by shame, right? And then the next question was, when was there shame, right? And then why was that shame in place? So throughout answering these questions, I had gotten in touch with Mrs. She Said, and we decided to have a discussion about it. Now, it's been a few times we've had to postpone this live. We may even do it again, but because life happens. But I wanted to still keep this date because it was important to me to make this live stream and talk about that, because there's been so much going on in the space that yes, we have to talk about shame. And as you guys can see in the chat, it is an open panel for anyone to come up if you have something to say. Hello, everyone in the chat. I see you guys. So, in answering these three questions about shame, what it is, what it's not, when we had it, when we lost it, and why do we need it today, I decided that I needed to take the opposition so that this question could be answered authentically. Because I think what's happening now is you have some of the loudest voices in YouTube television screaming, women are not morally correct. And no matter how true or false that is, there is no such thing as having correct behavior without a correct system that has guided that behavior. It's very inane to expect a child to be brought up correctly while not being brought up correctly. Like, we do not expect for something to be if it wasn't called into being. That calling into being is what we expect to happen before a thing happens. So you can't expect something to be if it wasn't called for. Things happen as a result of other things. That is the basis of our reality. So, when I saw the question, bring back shame, it's like, well, what is shame? To me, I didn't want to look up Webster's Dictionary of Shame, because sometimes there's a problem with Webster, okay, and the people who support Webster. So I wanted to just be honest with you all, and to be honest with myself as far as what is shame. Shame, in my experience, and I'm only one experience, at least that I know of. In my experience, shame is that inner calling to oneself that I have to do better and I am above this. you know. Now that has its reasoning, which I'll get into. But shame in and of itself is something that is internal. It is not something that can be externally put into you or vice versa. It starts inside and it ends inside. But it is, I do believe that we are understanding shame rather wrongly. And that's why no one has it, because we don't understand it. And honestly, we never did. Now, to the question I asked of, well, when did we have shame? Right? The reason why I had to ask that question is because there's this idea that after slavery and before the civil rights happened, civil rights era, or let's say the crack era, we had a civilization that had shame. But if any of you have lived through that time period, and I'm talking about the older people, you do understand that there was no such thing as shame. And yes, I'm going to say that on record. America, the world, has never known shame as a whole. We've never known that. We don't know what that looks like. And despite what you may think of the 50s and the 60s and women wearing knee-length skirts, we have never had shame. We have had a system that operated a certain way. And that certain way that it operated that way because it was more expedient for it to operate that way, meaning it had money attached to it. So let me say this, right? When we look at, let's say, the underground cultures of the 50s, the 60s, the 1910s, the roaring 20s, where all the sexuality started coming out, do we really think that all of that top-notch sexuality that sprang up out of nowhere? No, that's not what happened. People think that, back then people had it in them to keep it in their pants, keep it in their house. Well, that's not really what people were doing. It just wasn't no outlet for them to do it publicly. Therefore, the underground markets was where all of the crap happened. Like this whole thing of sexual liberation. No one has ever been sexually liberated. They've just shown you through social media what was already here. Period. We did not have what we understand as shame. No, we didn't. And if you think we did, tell me a time, and I'm going to tell you a time when there was no such thing as shame. It was a such thing as, let me keep this in the house so I won't lose my money or lose my house. But shame, for what shame really is, we've never had that. Oh, I see you.
What up, though?
Hey, how are you?
Finding you. How you doing this Sunday?
Listen, I am cooling. I've had a weekend hosting the fight party for the Garcia tank fight yesterday, and that was something. No one, everyone was screaming and yelling all night, and 7 rounds, and Tank won, and I was proud of him because he's from my home city, so the boxing match. So it was really nice out there in Vegas. One of my friends, she was supposed to be in Vegas at the fight, but she turned down the date because she didn't want to get flued out by a dude that she didn't really know to be at the fight at ringside.
Oh, yeah, you got to be careful about getting flued out.
Yeah, she was like, I could have been there, but I didn't really know him. And I was like, geez, well, you know me. So we
right. Oh, child. So send me the ticket.
Yeah, right. Like, I like to go, but it was really nice. I've never hosted a fight party before. This was my first time, so it was really good. It was about 15, almost 20 people came, and we were, just light food and just games and just screaming and yelling at the fight. But it was nice, but I was tired. The fight didn't start till almost midnight, and you know me. Sometimes I don't always operate on color people time.
Right.
I was about to pop me a caffeine pill because I was like, if this thing go till 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna be dead tomorrow. So this morning I had to sleep in, so my eyes might be a little messed up.
No, you look good, girl. But you know what? Listen, I couldn't have been up that late to watch no fight.
See, See, that's what I'm saying. I don't usually do stuff like that. That ain't even my steal. Like, not even.
Exactly.
I had to because I was hosting, so my house I had to make sure everybody wasn't spilling stuff. You know how it is, but yeah. But I'm cool in this weekend. Mrs. She said had a little bit of not an emergency, but because of the holiday weekend, she may or may not pop in because this topic was stemming from a post that she made on her social media that I kind of chimed in on, and we decided well we would talk about it. But I told her if she could make it, I would still do it, and we'll hook up again. But I was just kind of before you jump on, I was talking about just the idea, and I'm gonna say it's an idea that the world has ever known shame has never existed, and we've had a false reality of American culture at the height of its quote unquote good years, and we keep saying, well, bring back shame, but it's like, when did we ever have shame? Well, if we tell the truth about what was going on, like, when did we have shame? And let's suppose there was some shame, right? Are we trying to go back to the time when people hid who they really were, like hardcore, and everyone was unhappy in their marriages and their relationships, at their jobs and their families, and everything was swept under the rug, including all of the stuff that used to be swept under the rug, like all of the molesting and the raping and all of that was swept under the rug, because we had to have an image to uphold, even though we wasn't really upholding anything but a lie. Do we really
Well,
go back to those days? That's my question. Even if I take the position, okay, there was some shame in the world. Okay, cool. Well, what? Okay, what do people really want when it comes to that? Because it seems like, okay, you just want women to act right, but like I said, you can't expect women to act like there's a culture that doesn't exist. Like, that's just not what that's not what that is. Like for instance, if you have children that are well mannered, they're well mannered because they live in a household where the culture has an expectation and reward system for that, where that makes sense. Like, it makes sense for the children not to yell in the house because the house may be small, or it just might not be polite to yell when you can hit the button or the intercom or whatever. Like, there's a system in place. But if there was no system in place for the child to be well mannered and do stuff like that, why would we wake up one day and say, well, we need this child to be well mannered, something's wrong with the child, bring back well manneredness? It's like, from where? Like, that's my question. But what say you?
I mean, a lot of people think shame is it, but you're right, because that's what I was gonna say. Shame was when people was hiding. Shame was when your auntie would come to every function with her best friend, and you think it forever that that's her best friend, but really, that's wifey. Your uncle would have his homeboy he was chilling with all the time. You thought that was his friend. No, that was his friend, girlfriend, friend. Like,
Right, that was it was crazy. Hold on for a second, Robbie. Hold on. Hey, Mrs. E said, hey, hey.
hey, beautiful.
Hey y'all, can't wait. Like, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I'm not used to using headphones and stuff, but
Yeah, I can
got
hear you.
family life going on behind me.
I know. I told him. I said, if she comes in, it's because she is blowing in and got stuff to do. She like, I gotta eat and run and do all this right here.
That looks yummy.
Listen, my plate is
Let's go. Hey love. I
Hey.
thought that was it is a still picture, Lord child.
It is. You know how I do. You know I be playing in people's faces, honey. I be staying off the camera.
How y'all doing
like
today?
that. We're doing okay.
Okay.
We're doing okay. We was just kind of doing an introductory discussion about the topic of shame, and I had did a small monologue where I had expressed that when I had seen your post about shame, it had prompted me to ask the question or questions. Uh, when did when did we have shame, and why? You know,
Hmm.
um, did we have it? Whenever we had it, if we had it, and just
You
leading.
never had shame growing up?
No, I'm gonna tell you something, right?
Shit.
The shame that I felt throughout my entire life, right? Despite the country, okay, despite all that,
Hmm.
the shame that I felt has always came from a sense of adoration for my father. Never fear of what someone was going to think of me, but rather losing the adoration of my father. That's where the shame came from, in that I understood how much it took out of him to pour into me. And because I loved him, I didn't want his life to be a waste. So that's where the shame, like for instance, if like my father doesn't like the way I carry myself, I would feel bad. Not because other people got a system and I need to adhere to a system. It was out of love for him, not out of some obligation to keep my whatever in the house or stuff like that. Like right now, like the reason why I don't argue with family, lovers, whatever the case may be, in public is because the shame that I have is embarrassing someone that I love, not having a system where, listen, this is just not what we do. It's not coming from no sense of culture. It's coming from purely what's in my heart for the other person. However, the question of, as a culture, as Black people specifically, right? When we had shame, right? I'm gonna be honest with you that there was an idea that we had shame. It was, but that idea was, as long as other people, or not a lot of people, know what you're doing, we're good to go. But the fact that people still did it, nothing has changed. People were just as vile back then as they are now. But the only difference is we have social media and
Yeah,
people.
they were more discreet. I
They
always said that. When
but
women did they dirt, they did it discreetly.
they did it discreet.
Now because there was shame. They know certain behaviors is not okay.
But
Especially
is
doing it
it?
around your children, but they continue to do it, but they did it in silence. But now we're in a new day.
Well, here's the thing, right?
They don't care to hide it.
Is it that they didn't care? Is it that they cared to hide it, or is it that there was a cost to not hiding it? Because the way I've seen, and I've researched a few videos around that subject matter before we came on, and it seemed to me that women, and I'm going to keep it on women, women
Mhm.
specifically had something tangible to lose. When women couldn't own property, when women couldn't vote, when women only could wash clothes or be seamstress, and if they couldn't get that job, they would literally starve. Like, this is the time when they had something to physically lose. So therefore, they wasn't better people. There was no shame in what they were doing or not doing. It's only that if I do this publicly and anybody finds out, I'm gonna lose something. But
And what's different now?
what's different now is the women don't have anything to lose, and there's
Why
no
not? They can lose their
process.
children, they can lose their life, they can lose their freedom, their job by their behavior.
When you say their behavior, what behaviors are we speaking
By any behavior that someone may find inappropriate to get you in trouble,
to? Okay,
right? Because
let's talk
police is
about.
killing everybody now. So, just because you're a woman is not going to stop you from getting in trouble
Mhm,
or being corrected or being reprimanded for whatever it is. Because, it's just so many things we out here doing
mhm,
that's not okay. It can cost you your life just being disrespectful with your mouth. You don't know who you talking to when you out in the street. So that can cost you your life or
mhm,
your freedom because you might hurt that person.
mhm.
So either way, there's a cost. So to say there's no cost in anything, I don't know. I don't agree with that.
Mhm.
Because they're losing their
And
children because of their shameful ass behavior. They're going right into the foster care system where we got to pick them up and take care of them. You know what I mean? So there's shame in behavior and there's consequences still. So I don't agree with that.
go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah. So my thing is this, like, I don't believe shame ever really was the factor, because if it was a factor, then certain behaviors wouldn't be going on right now.
Mhm,
Yeah,
See,
people
I
are
think
desensitized.
right, but the
So,
point,
it doesn't have to necessarily be the direct factor.
but what I'm saying is, if shame was so prevalent and if shame was so important, the behaviors that people have become desensitized to would have never been at the forefront of society. See, the reality is that the society we live in has gone from one where it was two beds on opposite sides of the room and no skin being shown on
That's what
television.
they showed on TV.
Mm,
That
I
doesn't
that's
necessarily mean it's true.
mm,
But the point that I'm making is the society that we live in. The society framed things that it couldn't be seen a certain way. As time has gone on, society deviated from that plan and from that norm. So it's not that it was necessarily shame, it was the ideology that people wanted to sell as a portion of the American dream. In the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s, when I was growing up, you would hear on the commercials every day, the American dream is husband and wife, 2.5 kids, a house, and a dog. That is not the American dream anymore. So you're not hearing that. So it's never really been about shame. It's just, are you fitting into the prevailing majority as far as standards and aesthetics for what we want our society to be? The society you see today is the society that is desired for whatever reason, win, lose, or draw.
when you say
Okay,
desire,
is there a question in that? Or
when you say desire, you mean as in, like, for instance, like crime, right? Let's say more women are committing crimes now than, well, let me not say that. More women are openly committing crimes now, right? So there's a need in society somewhere for there to be more people in jail. Therefore, there's in a sense, like, low key incentives to create this problem, because it's also fitting into the aesthetic of what's necessary, well, not necessary, but what's desired by certain factions of society. So, you know, and I think that goes to the point when I ask, well, what is the incentive? What's the cost, right? If
Mm-hmm.
if women, because see, that's an extremity when we talk about violence, right? But let's talk about something, let's say, less extreme, like, okay, nudity, right? At some point back, let's say 150 years ago, you walk out into the street with your nipple showing or somewhat showing, you're going to go to jail, right? But that's because that went against so many different parts of the culture, that it's like it's like women couldn't even wear their skirts above the ground at that point on purpose. Showing skin had a cultural, like, there was a grip on women when it comes to showing certain skin. So you come in there buck naked, they're gonna probably think you're mental. But now you can go anywhere naked, and the police are not gonna stop you. So it's like, well, women already wanted to be, flaunting their stuff or whatever the case may be. But now there's no cost to going outside, going to your child's school naked. It really isn't.
naked, or
Yeah, I've
just
seen some things.
booty shorts, not completely naked, because you're gonna get
If you come
you're
into
gonna get
a
stopped by the
school,
police. Somebody's
now
gonna
I'm gonna
find
be
out
honest
if you
with
need
you.
some
I've
help.
seen some stuff. I've seen a woman outside with booty shorts on so tight, I knew she had a yeast infection, and all she had was pasties over her nipples. That was it.
I mean,
Walking around.
it's still not naked. Naked is naked.
Okay.
Panties
Well,
and pasties is not naked.
here's the thing: if she was turned around and all I could see was her backside, but she had clothes on her front side, she
Yeah,
was half clothed. But to me, she's naked because I can
yeah.
see a
To
portion
you,
of her. Yeah, to
but
me, she's
she can get
naked.
a fine for indecent,
Right. Well,
exposure, but it's not a crime. Or she
honestly,
can,
now,
find herself in a position of being raped. So, that's on her to deal with. Like she should be smart enough, and logical enough, and realistic enough to not do that.
well, I'll say this, right? When it comes to the shaming part of it, right? Part of the reason why women are incentivized not to be shamed about doing these things is because of the position that society has taken to say why they should be shamed. They're saying you should be shamed to dress like that because someone else may commit a crime that we will punish them for. And that doesn't do anything to the psyche of shame. All that does is embolden people to say, hold on, you don't got a right to put your hands on me. I can do what I want as long as I'm not putting my hands on anyone. So where's the shame element? Now we're taking the shame away little by little, and we're saying, well, stay shameful. And that's not how the mind works.
I don't know how everybody else's, minds work with shame. You know what I mean? That's an individual thing. It's something that you have to feel within. You
Mm-hmm.
can say anything to me. I'm not, if you call me all kinds of skinny, you think I'm going to feel bad? It's not shaming me. That's just how you feel. And I could care less. You understand what I'm saying? But it has been used as a mechanism to shame me. But I never looked at it as shame because I have no shame in my skinny. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I understand what you're saying
Now
because
I would have shame in being a hoe.
but why?
That
Why
because
was
I
she being a
because
hoe?
it's not it's because me personally, what I know about being a hoe and having being promiscuous and having all these explicit sexual partners and getting money for sex, it's not something that I personally want to do. Now, if people want to live this life, that's fine. Do you?
Well, let me give you a scenario, right? So, a woman feels that being a hoe is nothing to be shameful about.
That's
And
good
we
for
would
her.
say, well, if we ask her, why do you feel that being a hoe is not something to be ashamed about? She would say, well, one, I'm grown. Two, I can sleep with whoever I want to. It's not against the law. If I protect myself, that's a personal choice that I'm doing for me.
Mm-mm,
I'm happy. Now we at number
mm-mm,
5. Number 6, this is just her hypothetically. Now, number 6, she would say, it doesn't stop my life. I can still have children when I want to because I'm on birth control. And if I want to get married, whoever I'm dealing with may or may not even know. And let's suppose they do know. She's not interested in anyone that would find that to be wrong. So now we're almost up to 10 reasons why, in her mind, she's saying, I feel like Mrs. She said, I don't feel no shame in what I'm doing. It's like everybody's on the I'm happy kick. So, with that being the case, how do we regulate shame if it's individual on that kind of scale?
I have no idea. I only deal with my own kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I care the most about when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to this shame. As long as they know right from wrong, good from bad, foolish behavior, then it's on them. As long as I know that they're smart enough when I send them out as adults, they know what consequences they have to deal with it when it comes to their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what everybody else's level of shame and how it looks, and what would her doctor say about all of that?
Mm-hmm.
He would probably shame her.
Nowadays, they would
How
probably.
many women are going into the doctor? Because I'm a married woman, and every time I go, every 6 months, they ask me how many sexual partners, even though my doctor knows me and he knows I have one husband. The question is still asked, and it's a piece of paper that asks
Mm-hmm.
how many sexual partners you had in this last year. On top of that, how many sexual partners have you had in a lifetime? So, most people are not honest. And by all means, do you, boo boo. I have no cares about what women do with their vaginas. And, I'm talking to the young folks. If I can get them to hold out and think a little more clearly, because it is a lot of risk in being bad and foolish when it comes to our bodies. So, they need to know all of that as well, besides the fun and the glamour and glitz of it all. And, probably not even being satisfied sexually. So, they're kind of wasting their time, their youth, and the risk of bringing unwanted children into the world. So, everybody can do what they want. I really don't care. My missives, my shame platform is for my children and
Mm-hmm.
the children that they have, because I'm almost 50 years old and I have an 8-year-old. I have 27, 22, 18, and 8. These lessons from mommy need to be heard from
Mm-hmm.
me. Can't nobody tell them who their mama was but me. So
So let
hopefully if this exists in 15, 20 years, 30 years, they can always reflect back on
mhm.
who Mrs. Harris was, their mother and grandmother and great grandmother.
Well, let me ask you this: we have, at least according to men online in the online space, we have an absorbent amount of Black women that have no shame. Can we, in your estimation, because you said, this is about me and how I raise my children, can we say that there has been at least 2 generations that have failed because they raised their children? Over 80% of them group was infiltrated with whatever was put into them, and now they're adults. And this is what that generation has created: a third generation where there is literally no shame. Can we
Yeah.
say that the parenting failed 2 generations
I
before?
say it every Sunday.
Two
Probably
generations.
more than that. Probably more than that.
Okay, so if that's the case, can we honestly say that in the last 150 years, the last 200 years, we've ever had shame? Given we have been worse off in terms of our parenting for the last 200 years, not raising our children
I'm
to
so
have
confused
more.
by your question. Repeat that for me.
Basically, what
Because I
she's
don't even
saying is
understand what you're asking.
she's saying that if shame was an effective tool, why has parenting failed over the past 2 centuries?
Do you think I have the answers to that? Hurt people, right? Because cycles continue to fester and they don't change. People don't see a difference. So if somebody grows up here in this swamp of what you call Baltimore City and they know nothing other outside of that, they don't even go 20 minutes outside of their community to see that there's a farm out there. You
Mm,
understand? All they know is this. They don't aspire to anything else. I was lucky enough to know that there was something outside of Brooklyn. You know, it was Queens where they had yards and lots of grass. You understand what I'm saying? So your environment dictates a lot. I have no idea about all that, but I'm bringing shame back now. So hopefully someone will reflect on it and possibly change their behavior, have a look at themselves,
when you say you
and
bringing shame
possibly
back,
change.
do you feel that you're when you say I'm bringing shame back, that you can only bring shame not so much back, but to your direct children, not
I
to
can bring it to whoever watches it. If anybody watches my platform and see the reflections that I show of the shameful, bad, stupid ass, foolish behavior that they're exhibiting, and it's my opinion, they might reflect on it and they might want to change. If not, continue your foolish behavior and continue to get the results that you are getting. Like, I can't control what people do in their life. Some people are going to take what I say and agree and make adjustments or changes, or they might not like it at all and may not come back, click like, dislike. Who cares? I'm not one of them up here looking for any type of trophy.
mm.
That's not why I'm here. I don't
Well,
care about subscribers or
right.
any of that. But it's some truth that needs to be shined. You live in Baltimore, don't you? You live in Maryland.
Hmm.
It's a shithole, is it not? Or am I wrong?
It is.
Okay, so I mean,
Well, see,
it ain't like I'm lying
no, you're not.
about.
You're not lying
Right,
about
that's what I'm
the
saying.
reality of what we're looking at as far as people. However, what I've noticed is, let's say, older generation, some, okay, and some people in our generation are that have platforms and voices. They're saying, okay, to the younger people, you should have shame, right?
No, I'm hearing a lot of people say people need to bring back shame.
Right, right. You need to.
Not
We
you
need
should
to.
have shame. If you
Right.
brought
There's
back
no saying.
shame, they would see shame in their behavior. That's the thing, giving them a vision of what is some shameful types of behavior. Some people may not find it shameful.
Well, that's
Some
local.
people may not think it's shameful. So it's
That's.
all my perspective on what I see a
Mm,
good mother should be
mm.
or a
Well,
good
see,
woman should be. It's my
based on
perspective.
based on what you said about how what you care about, what you don't care about, and you're correct, right? If every single person shares your sentiments, right? That listen, if it feels good to me and it makes sense to me, and this is my life and my children, I don't care what anybody else thinks, right?
That's what they're doing.
If every single person feels that way, technically,
That's what they're doing.
there's no reason, there's no space. There, like literally, there's no physical place for us to quote be shame, let alone bring back shame, because our own children will grow up and say and be influenced by all these other things, and then say, "Well, I don't agree with how you raised me. I'm gonna do what I want to do because this
It's
is what
always going to be like that. Absolutely.
I."
Our children are absolutely going to have their children and say, you know what, some of the things mom and dad did I didn't like, and I'm going to change that. I'm not going to do that.
Mm,
It's just what's going to happen.
mm. So, can we really bring back shame if that's
You can do whatever you want. I know what I'm doing. I'm bringing back shame.
when you say you're
Eh,
bringing back shame? What do you mean by that?
What do you
Wait,
mean? What do you mean what I
wait.
mean by that? It's just a show and a play. Did you watch my show? Have you seen any of my shows?
I've
Church
So then
seen.
you
finger.
would see that I absolutely bring up videos and I give definitions of certain behaviors and I give you a view of the type of behaviors that I consider to be foolish and shameful.
Mhm.
And it's just giving a view.
Wait, hold on. Church finger. Church finger.
The church.
Okay, this is a really intense conversation, and I can understand both sides of the situation. But I'm gonna let y'all have this conversation because I just came up here to, hold my girl down while she was waiting for
Mhm.
you. Um,
Oh, okay.
I get
I
what
didn't even
you.
know you was gonna be here.
Yeah, no, I wasn't gonna be here. She was just like, oh, you was running late, so I just popped up to, help her round out the time until you came. Uh, you can keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you find you see a vision in what it is that you're doing, and people have to ultimately find their individual path for what works for them and what makes sense for them. Lola, I get what you're saying too. You don't really see the point in it in general because people are just going to do what feels comfortable for them. But I'm curious to see how the rest of this conversation is going to go. You ladies enjoy and have at it. I'm going to catch y'all later.
Man,
Have a
me
Take
good
care.
one.
too.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thanks, Robbie. And shout out to everyone in the chat. Y'all know I don't hardly read the chat. I glance at it. But I'll say this, Ms. She said, I'm with you in at heart in terms of people being better people. And I always say that we can't start with rules. We have to start with inside. Like we have an internal issue, right? We got people that at heart they're dark. So we can't sit and expect them to do things correct in
I
any
don't.
fashion, right? When they have internal problems that they have to work out first before everyone else sees this beautiful whatever transformation, right? So it happens from the inside out. There, but the problem has been, at least in these online spaces, the idea that we can change people and get women to act, grown women now, 40, 35 plus, to act different if we shame them from the outside and make them feel bad about their decisions back in the 90s or yesterday. And my thing is, the only way that the outside works to a degree is when we're talking about children, like you said. If you're raising your children and you're putting that into them from the outside, right? Because they're still growing, that works, right? But for somebody 47 years old, to me, it seems like a waste of time. I feel like there's a better way to change behavior when you talk about older adults that are doing shameful things. Meaning this, the best way humans operate is through rewards and discipline. Meaning this, if you touch the stove, you will feel pain. If you don't, then you will feel okay. Women, for instance, that do, let's just be honest, shitty things, right? The only way they're going to stop doing shitty things is if shitty things happen to them in real time. Meaning this, if you decide you're going to be
Mm-mm.
a shitty person in a marriage or in a relationship for, let's say, 30 years, well, you're not going to feel like shit until you're 74 and you're alone and you're in a hospital and no one's there. But for 74 years, you're going to be a monster, basically trying to kill everybody else's spirit. That's what's going to happen, right? And you probably will hurt a lot of people along the way. However, if something happens to you in real time when you do that, right, that stops that behavior right then and there. It doesn't continue. And a big part of what stops certain behavior is the response to it. Meaning this, you know who Sukiana is, right?
No.
Okay, Sukiana is a personality online that does some very, let's just say, shameful things on camera. Okay, I've seen enough. I won't even click on anything with her face on it because somebody could be standing around and think I look at that every day. It's really bad. And so she does this because she gets fame from it. Okay, she obviously gets paid from it. She's not in the hood anymore with her 2 kids, so she say. Okay, I don't know, but that's what she said. So to her, she's getting some kind of reward. Now, to the average person that's doing that don't have fame, the reward isn't quite the same. However, let's suppose we did this. If the other half of society, which are the men, were tempered away from, let's say, just clicking, that takes away the money. Doesn't take away the fame, but it takes away the money because you get money when people click, right? You still get the fame. Now, if men started, let's say, doing what they do to some women and, seeing that action in real time, meaning this, she can't get a husband. Like that one won't be married because what we see a lot of times is people like Little Kim getting rings, and people are like, who, how? I mean, y'all don't care about the Coke bottle. Y'all don't care about all the sex parties we seen her on camera doing. Like
Wait,
y'all
you
don't
said
care
Little
about
Kim, what, getting a ring, you said?
none of the people like Little Kim, like somebody who back in the day started this whole like 304 on camera person
Okay.
type sort of situation. And I'm not saying Little Kim was the first, but
Of
she
course.
was one of the main characters, at least when I was coming up, where that started to become a trend. So with her, should we see women like her married? Should we see women like her basically having no consequences for basically decimating so many homes with her music? Should we see men not
Oh,
indulging in order to balance the other side of the consequences? Let me say that.
you said a lot. Trying to figure out where the question is.
Okay, well, I'll
Because
sum the
you did
question.
say a lot.
I'll sum the
Help me.
question down.
Yeah.
Black women do what they're doing because right now there doesn't seem to be a consequence for it. Now, the consequence we typically give each other is you will not get a ring, right? Should we see women like Little Kim getting rings as far as the consequence? Is that should we see, because that is heavily dependent on men? Is that something that we should
I'm.
see?
I don't care if little Kim gets a ring. The women I want to get rings are women who want rings.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be wives. They're going to do whatever it takes to get the man that they want to propose to them. I can care less about everybody else. Not
Do you,
everybody is meant to be a wife.
do you think those women will get that if the men
I
that
doubt it.
they're trying to get it
They
from
won't be happy.
will go to women like Little Kim and give them
I
rings?
doubt it. No.
So
Look at
what is the
Mary. Look at
purpose?
Mary. Still unhappy because she still has to be a successful woman outside of her marriage.
Mm,
So she has no time to take care of her man, cater to her man, love her man. He's just supposed to support her because she married. She's still a goddamn human. She's still a woman, and she's still supposed to be a wife.
mm,
Now, how that looks like intricately within their marriage is something that they have to come to arrangements with and
mm,
agreement with. A woman should never sub to a man's mission if she has no clue of what he's doing, where he's going, and
mm,
his purpose. So it's her decision to say, yes, I love you, and I'm going to consider you. I'm going to be quiet when you need me to be quiet, and I'm going to be respectful at all times.
okay.
Most women are not built like that. We're built, I can say whatever the fuck I want, and if you don't like it, you can kick rocks, nigga. And they
Mm.
even will tell them to suck their dick. So, this is where we are.
Do you think that there's an equal balance of men that match that energy in society?
I think it's more men that want marriage than it is women. I
No,
think
no,
it's
I mean I'm matching the energy you just claimed, like the women that say basically fuck you, I do what I want to do. Do you think there's an equal balance of men in society that is basically tempered for
no,
that?
no, because men have a different walk in life. They have to do more things to get a woman. They have to do a lot
Mm,
to get a woman. A woman really just got to pull her panties down and say, "Here, would you like some?" And they're either going to say yes or no. And a
mm,
woman should choose a more disciplined man that would say, "No, thank you, not right now. I'm good."
mm.
But no,
Now
that's
that
not where we are.
Do you think that there's a lot of women in society that even want marriage, of young women?
No, probably not, because the women before them did not promote it, make it look good, say anything kind about men. So why would they want that? Mm-mm. No, it's better off to not have you around. Matter of fact, let me get your seed so I can get a check for 18 damn years and manipulate your ass while I hold this carrot over your face. It's a
Mm,
different mindset. This is being taught. We live right here in Baltimore. I've been here 6 years, and these women are being breaded this way.
mm,
I was even cultivated in that type of mindset. You understand what I'm saying? But I knew what I wanted. And again, I'm biased because I'm a stair stepper child. I have brothers that are 11 months older than me, and then another brother's 11 months older than him. So to watch them grow as young boys to men, I adore the shit out of them. And I would absolutely want the women that they chose to be as respectful and
mm,
kind and loving and inspirational and all of that to them, which gratefully they have been. And
mm,
we're lucky because from where we came from, we kind of beat the odds, all three of us. My
mm,
brothers have been with their women since their teenage years. Not to say everything was all sugar and, rainbows, but this is what women's mindset thing. The minute that I'm unhappy, I need to go. And that's not what marriage is. So
mm,
they have no clue on the work, the duty, the honor, and the responsibility that it takes to stay in that, to be in that. Because I can't understand a woman agreeing to marry a man, because you see how women do. We get these weddings and I'm just, oh, I'm in bliss with this man. And then years down the line, you're not in bliss no more. Why not? It's
mm,
always his fault. Instead of the woman saying, well, I stopped doing this, or I fell back on that, or, the baby gave me postpartum, or, whatever. It's
mm,
always the man's fault. So, I just have a different mindset because I grew up with a lot of boys. So, in me having a whole bunch of brothers, I grew up with nothing but boys. Not to say I didn't grow up around any girls, but the large majority of my crew were pretty tomboyish, pretty similar to me. The way these girls be fighting and cackling and sleeping with each other's men, like me and my girl, we didn't do stuff like that. We didn't sleep with each other. We didn't kiss in the back. You know, those types of things, it's just a different world now. So I think, the generations before me have failed.
Mm,
And we are seeing the effects of it now. And it doesn't apply to everybody because it is some good women out there and it is some good mothers out there and some great families, but we don't see that shit.
mm,
There's no exposure to all of the bliss. We had an awesome panel of wonderfully married women on our show today, and they have similar backgrounds.
mm,
We adore our men, like, and we're gonna do what it need, what it takes to keep them.
mm.
We want them to do what it takes to keep us. I think when women hear that, do what it takes to keep your man, you acting like they're not doing the same to keep us. My husband had to do a lot of work to maintain this relationship over 25 years. It wasn't just me.
Well, are
I
you?
don't think I don't think women want to put the work in no more. Not even being mothers, because they're shitty mothers. When my kids is going to kindergarten and first grade and they could barely read, mom, it's your fault.
Mm.
Yeah, that's your
Well,
job.
you know what? I'll say this, right. When I was coming up, I was usually one of the top 3% of children that had their fathers in their lives. And I noticed when I was in first grade, sixth grade, 10th grade, that question was asked: how many of you live at home with your fathers or know your fathers? And I put my hand up, and I noticed it was only one or two other children in a classroom full of 60 and 30 children that had their hand up. And it was really that bad. So, and it wasn't just all girls, it was boys. So the reason why I asked, do you feel that there's an equal number of men that basically have the same toxicity as women, is because equally boys were in that class with me not having fathers. And so I wouldn't imagine that what happened to the girls didn't happen to the boys when they had a lack of fathers. Now that we're all 40 something years old and most of us are single, is it because only the girls, society only happened to the girls and it caused a rift that obviously is bigger than a few people, and didn't happen to the boys? Or is it something that's more equally spread out and we only see it because women are more visible in terms of some of the effort on social media? Because I don't see as many men doing ratchet stuff as I see women on social media. However, being from Baltimore, being born here, I've seen more men in the flesh doing more ratchet stuff in the flesh than on social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's just I don't know why, like social media, I just don't see it. But
Right.
in the flesh, I definitely see a difference as far as like the culture here
Well,
specifically.
if we're specifically talking about Baltimore City, a lot of these kids are being raised by single black women.
Mm,
Why wouldn't they have I can see them coming up with a lack of respect for black women, especially when they watch their mother lack respect for herself, her
mm,
community.
mm,
It's a destruction here. I'm not even gonna lie. I actually had to get therapy when we moved here 6 years ago because I had to find a way to transition. Because from where we came from, I felt like I stepped into the 80s when crack hit. To see the
mm,
dilapidation, the homelessness, the hopelessness, just everything. The school's a piece of shit. Like, horrible. And it's still like this 6 years later.
mm.
So, it's something to ponder. And not to say it's all the black women's fault because, we try to make excuses for absent fathers, but the women were present, very present. Mothers are very present, right? Yeah, our kids are screwed up. So what's happening? They need to have some shame. If they had a little shame in the things that they were doing, might be a little better. Because if
It,
I can look,
I
if
would,
I can look at my mother's history and say, yeah, a lot of those behaviors were shameful. I'm gonna make sure I don't do that. Because she specifically said this right here. Now, don't repeat this shit. Don't do that. Don't do that. Or even pointing out, knowing family members doing this and doing that. And just all of those, you need to pay attention to your surroundings. And people don't do that. We don't care. So, and if you don't know the outcomes of bad and foolish behavior, if you don't see it, if they see it be glorified, then, they don't see nothing wrong with it.
mm,
You're half naked and you're getting all these accolades. Look at all the goddamn award shows. I can't watch that with my 8-year-old.
correct.
There's no way. Over the last maybe freaking 8, 9 years, it's it's a cesspool. It's ridiculous.
Right.
You
It's
know,
soft
so
porn, basically.
you know, and we're here now. But we have no control over the media, and this is where we are. But we're easily influenced. We're very gullible and naive to a lot of things, and I think it's just different because women and girls have been pandered and coddled from the time they fucking come out. Boys
Mm,
are not treated the same way. My brothers was held to way much more responsibility than me. It was a different way of upbringing, and just watching us raise. Not to say it was just a total sex difference raising our children because they're
mm,
so far apart in age, but me and my brothers was neck to neck, and
mm,
it was different. They were held to a higher, more responsible manner than me. And maybe it's because I was younger and I got to watch them be shamed for their bad and foolish behavior. It might have kept me intact a little bit, right? Because I saw the consequences
mm,
of their bad and foolish behavior, right? So if mommy popped you in your mouth for talking back to her, I'm going to know not to do that because
mm,
I don't want to get popped in my mouth. You understand what I'm saying?
mm.
So some of those things was learned over time like that. And honestly, just being thrusted into church, you got shamed every damn Sunday. Every Sunday, pastor was shaming somebody. So, either they walked out there refreshed and said, "Whoo, well, I'm going to take pastor word. I'm going to make sure I change my life," or not.
Mm.
Some people it's
Well,
going to help and some people it's not. I care about the ones that's going to help. If you need a little more, I'll let me. If not, whatever. I could
and you
care
know
less.
what? That is
I
a big
don't influence you, then by
thing. It's
all means, it's not for you. It's
right.
absolutely not for you. But I
Well,
care about these kids, and I feel
actually,
like I care about these kids more than a lot of parents care about these kids.
you might, and actually,
It's amazing.
having shame is for everyone, even if they don't listen to it. But I'll
Yeah.
say this:
I get
one
it from my mama, Raw B. That eyebrow raised, child. That woman go.
one instance, right, with shame that affected me in my life when it came to how I was raised was that my father married my mother because the church shamed him for having children outside of wedlock, meaning me and my brother who were only 2 weeks apart by two different mothers.
Hmm.
And so he couldn't go to church in peace. So he married my mother. Uh, so when he married my mother, it was the most horrifying experience
Hmm.
between six children, some of which
Hmm.
were his, some of which wasn't his and hers, so vice versa. And they got a divorce, and it was an ugly marriage and an ugly divorce, and it sent a couple of my siblings to the hospital. Let's say that, right?
Hmm.
Mental
Hmm.
hospital,
Everybody in the house can be dealing
right?
with the
They
same
deal
thing and
with
go
the same thing.
and
And I told
affects
my
them
father,
differently.
I explained to him, I said, Daddy, you did that because you were ashamed because you couldn't go to church. You didn't do that because you felt shame in here for what you did. You were okay with what you did. You just wanted to go to church.
Mm.
Now you made a decision to quote do the right thing, and it still turned out wrong because you wasn't right in here. And I had to tell my father, I was like, you were ready for marriage. You were just selfish, wanting to be out there doing you until you were 50 when you felt like now it's time for me to settle down. And it's like, that's not the time for you to settle down when you have children. Like, you have children, like, they're physically here. Like, they're not on the way. They're kids now. That's not the time to start settling down. But this was my father. Now, unlike you here in Baltimore, I was raised in a sense in just the opposite. Me and my sisters were always told, you better keep your legs closed, you better do this,
That's
you
right.
better make sure you speak correctly, act correctly, make sure your background is clean, speak respect. But the boys were raised as in get all the sex you can get from whatever source you can get it from, and I mean that very literally.
Mm, mm, mm.
And they were told that basically when they're ready for a woman will be waiting for them. Now that we're 40 something, 50 something, women are not waiting, and we're single, and people are unhappy and or divorced. My sister, one of my sisters was married twice, divorced. And it's like, but we were raised like that. Meanwhile, the boys wasn't, like, and they were, and this is where we're at this age. So
Mhm.
it's like my thing was, and I always go back to it, shame is not abiding by the rules. Shame is understanding why you need to do the right thing, even when no one's looking. Like, that's what shame is. And if you
And I
don't
mean,
have
honestly, if anybody who has been in the church, you should have that already. God should be
correct,
looking at you. You should
correct,
know in the deep down that God is going to have you in
correct.
front of Him at some point and say, "Hey, the hell was you doing?
Mhm.
The what the hell was you thinking?
But
Why'd
that
you
just
do that?
goes
And
to
why'd you
show,
do this?"
Right.
So
That just goes to show that a lot of people in church aren't in church because they believe in what is in the
yeah, they
Bible.
throw them verses out though, like they
It's
living that
false.
righteous life. But I call cab.
Right.
It is what it
And
is.
we can
Y'all
easily.
talk a good game. I like to hear it. It's a lot of talk. Sounds good coming
But
out your mouth
you
sometimes.
see how that culture makes it easy for people to cap and still get the accolades of living a righteous life and being moral. Meanwhile, they're not being moral. They're actually adding to the problems in society while showing the banner of religion. And
Mm.
that honestly I think does more
You'll never
detriment.
see that on my show. And I shame every Sunday. And I'll never be bringing in religion or Bible scripture to talk about what I'm shaming and none of that. No, my kids barely even grew up in that type of home.
And I
And
support
they
that.
still have a moral compass and they have integrity and they have value compass. And you
Mhm.
understand?
But you know what? Let
So,
me ask you this, right?
hmm,
Because I heard someone ask me this maybe last year. When I told someone I don't subscribe to a particular religion, I've been through Islam, I've been through Christianity, and don't get me wrong, I still subscribe to certain tenets within Islam, within Christianity. But I'm not like a professed person with a religion. However, they said, well, why are you moral? What standard of morality do you have,
the
right?
foundation
And
was set already by all of those encompassing factors that you said.
okay.
You said that. Like you said, you already had some of the Christian values, the
Mm,
Muslim, Islamic values, all of that will create that dynamic. And
mm,
I think that's set in stone really young,
mm,
because we never like in our intertwined. He is Muslim and I'm coming in Baptist Christian. He grew up around Christianity, but when I met him, he's Muslim.
mm,
And that was never something that where we bumped heads and it was a struggle because he's confident in his faith. I'm confident in my faith. And long as it guided us in decent and good movements,
mm,
I'm all for it. I would never be like, oh no, I'm not going to get down and pray with you all these times and support you during Ramadan. Never.
mm.
Absolutely not. If it's anything that's going to cause you to be a better person, I'm all for it.
I
You
agree. I
you
totally agree.
believe in the boogeyman and it makes you a better person, right? We create that dynamic with our kids. We think creating the boogeyman to
Right.
our kids will make them behave. Fools, y'all are idiots. Stop doing that shit.
And
It's
just
horrible. The
just tell them.
boogeyman, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, we just keep break those cycles if you want to break something. Get them
Mm,
out of this commercialized, spend your money and have no background of what it really means. These things really have some meaning or significance to it and it's lost. Our kids are lost. They have no clue. They just want some new shoes, and go get some eggs and some chickens and
right.
Santa Claus coming through. We ain't never had no fireplace.
Right.
You understand? And little kids
Yeah.
are smart.
Right.
My kids, the teachers used to have to tell my children, take me to the side to like have a talk with my children because they know the holidays is coming up and your children know that Santa Claus doesn't exist. We don't want your children to tell other children.
Right. And you know what?
I
Okay.
get it.
I
They
didn't
didn't.
right. I didn't have a problem with parents doing that, right? But where I drew the line was when I became a parent, I said, I don't want my children doing right simply because they think they're going to get something because they
Absolutely.
did right. I want my sons and my daughter to know you do right because that's supposed to be done. And that's it. Not that you're going to get nothing for it, not that somebody's going to reward you or pat you on the head, but because it's what you're supposed to do, that is your responsibility. That's
Mhm.
what you were born into this experience to do. And don't get me wrong, I think it works sometimes, like to have children work towards a goal in terms of their moral upbringing. But at
Mhm.
some point, I feel like we do have to take away that psychologically, maybe rather early, and have our children understand that, listen, the
Mhm.
reason why you don't put your hands on people is not because you just don't want to get hit. It's because a part of you is a part of them. They are a reflection of you. And what you do to them, as it says in Islam, you should want for your brother as you want for
You
yourself.
should be smacking yourself.
That's what I'm saying. You smacking yourself. And it's
Right.
like, but do children, maybe not people, but can children understand that
Absolutely.
level
Absolutely.
of
I have this
children?
conversation with parents so much. Your
Mm,
children are so much smarter than you give them credit for.
mm,
Okay? Because my children were learning Islamic phrases,
mm,
learning sign language, all before they were 3 years old. So they are capable of anything. We have to put in the time and the effort and be very intentional with them. Teaching kindness is important. When your child disrespects you, you let them know it's not
Mm.
okay. Parents automatically go right into no with their children. That's something
Right.
that's use other. There's so many other words to use to change your child's action. Whatever's happening, we got to do a little more. And I don't think we're giving these type of train. We have these big old baby showers and these um,
Right.
birth reviews, right? But nobody is sitting this child down to let her know, chick, you're gonna be hurting after this baby. Okay,
Mm.
you might not even want to touch the baby. Nobody's talking about postpartum and how it's gonna affect them.
Well, you know what?
Breastfeeding, teaching all these tactics, like it's not happening.
Right. That's it's not happening in terms of
So it's kind of our
succession
fault.
learning. Right. It
Because
is
what I
our
said to my husband, the first child we had, I said I need to do a better job than what my mother did. And we had 3 girls behind that. So it's my job to teach them about their body, that by the time they're 8, between 8 and 10, they're going to start going through hormone fluctuations, what the intricacies and parts are in their vagina. Like, I had to do whole shows because, again, the 8-year-old, I'm not guaranteed to be here. You know, understand what I'm saying? The 27, 22, 18, the foundation is solidified. They
mm,
absolutely know. But this last one, I'm
mm,
not sure if their siblings are going to be able to teach them the way I am going to do it. That one still jumps in the shower with me because I need her to be
mm,
show me that she's doing it the right way
mm.
and can point out the parts and say the names. You understand what I'm saying? Because we're idiots. We go to the goddamn OB and we don't even know the names of our parts of our damn vagina.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of that is because, and here's the thing: I'm a single mom, but I've seen this happen with single mothers. They get in this mind frame of let me let me provide food, clothing and shelter for my child, and say I'm raising my child.
We can't
That
even
is
say
not
it's just single
raising.
mothers. It's two parent
Well, no,
households
no,
that
and
are the same way, sis.
I'm not saying that this is all single mothers, but
Right, right, right.
one
But
of
I'm
the
just
things
saying
that
it's
I've
it's
seen,
parents that are two parents in the household and they're still not doing shit with their children.
right, and
You
that's
just
even
being
worse,
there and giving them food and giving them clothes is not a freaking enough.
right,
Can't tell kids to read and you don't read. Everything they see is you like this. What you think they gonna do?
right. That's what they're gonna do too, right. But
The
see,
fuck? Like it's just getting ridiculous. I mean, because it's a
it
sad
is.
day. This is all when that kids come outside. I'm outside with like 30 kids almost every day. And when I see my little babies come up, I be wanting to take them home and knock on their door and have a conversation with their mother. Do you
But
know your
but he,
baby is outside like this and boop and all the boys is around and they do it and
mm. But
no,
you know what, Mrs. She said,
no,
well,
it's too much.
nowadays, you know what? Nowadays, when I see stuff like that, I don't want to have a conversation with the mother. I want to have a conversation with the father.
Yeah, both. Yeah, I had that. Like
Like
I
now,
said,
because before I used to say that, I'm like, who raised you? Why? How did your mother do this? But now I'm thinking to myself, even if you're a single mother, right? Your children are still under the covering of their father, even if the father isn't there. So the
no,
issue
they're
is,
not. How? He's not even present.
what
There's
I
no
mean is,
covering. When my father was not around, he was not around. He was not there to protect me, provide for me, or teach me shit.
no, no, he
He
was
was
teaching you
totally absent.
something in
He
his
he was
absence.
teaching me about his absence.
Right, correct.
But
He was
that's
teaching you
not a
about his
good
absence.
lesson. That's not a
It's
good lesson.
it's not a good lesson,
It's not a good
but it
lesson.
is a
Because if
lesson.
God forbid I did not have those brothers, I would not have lived the life that I lived. Let me tell you. You
But here's the
understand?
thing, that was the
I
lesson.
learned from it, but everybody doesn't learn that way, Oshun. I'm lucky because I got to bury my father. I actually forgave him and was the only one of his children to come and put him in hospice and respectfully get him cremated. And I wear him on my neck and I take him out places. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
Everybody is not able to. Now my 4 brothers, yeah, they wasn't feeling all that. You understand what I'm
Well,
saying? So
I
everybody has their own path of reflection and how they're going to deal with it. His absence just taught me because it's not that I didn't know of him, because he's one of 10 kids. So I had all my aunts and uncles. He just wasn't around,
mm-hmm,
you know? So there was lessons in there from his
right,
absence. But mommy had possession of me. So mommy was much more responsible of what I was doing than he was.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. I was under her covering, not his. Not at all.
But when I say covering, I mean as in like your parents are shaping you in what they do and what they don't do.
And don't do.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're doing it. They're doing
I
something.
don't know if everybody, but mm, everybody is not. We can't really say that to a degree because some women actually mold their children to be dangerous creatures in society. I've seen women raise their child to hate their fathers. You know, don't even give the child the opportunity to have their own perspective of their father's absence. It's guided by all of what mommy says. And that's not fair. I don't think it's an accurate absence of the father versus mommy just saying this, that, and everything else, and the child has no clue where or who this father is. You know what I mean? And on top of that, I watch so many court shows. You ladies lie on your vaginas all goddamn day. Please.
This is what they do.
Mama's baby, papa's maybe.
I've
All the
seen
time. Gentlemen, get DNA tests in the hospital, request it. Don't care about her feelings. F your feelings. I need the truth when it comes to my DNA. Y'all ladies need to cut that out. I don't even understand it. I offered it to my husband. You want to get DNA?
Well, here's the thing. You're right. It is something that people can do
Because men are,
beforehand. You don't need the court.
they go to jail for not paying child support. Y'all need to stop.
But here's the issue though.
Shame.
Here's the real issue. It's men's responsibility to do that. It's not women's responsibility to force them to do that. That's not the women's.
Force them to do what?
To get a DNA test or to ask for
that's
a
why
DNA test.
gentlemen. That's why I said, gentlemen, y'all need to get a DNA test.
So the question is, why won't they?
Why won't they? I don't know. The
It's
women don't want it.
It's roughly $250 to get a DNA.
When it's in the hospital, it's free. If they show up to the hospital, it's free. And if it's $200, so what?
But wait, I'm putting it at the far end, as in you left the hospital for whatever reason and you're out of the hospital. You can still get a DNA test before you sign a birth certificate, and it doesn't cost $1,000.
You don't even have to sign the birth certificate. A woman can put your damn name on there. So,
Correct. But as far as asking for a DNA test, a man always has a right to do that. But the question is, why is it that most men still will not do that?
Because they don't want to make the woman look bad.
Why is that?
Because women argue. Women, you haven't seen it? You ask a woman for a DNA test, it's a fight. It's a problem. What, you think I was cheating on you? You the one who cheating on me. Da-da-da-da-da. It's a problem. It's not going to be a good conversation. What you think I was out there doing? Probably hoeing, bitch. I mean...
I'm going to say this when it comes to shame, right? If you a man and you got a woman and you're not married to her, right? And you ask for a DNA test, something's wrong with that picture. Because here's the thing: if you had sex with her and didn't care about putting a ring on it, why do you care if who's the father? Honestly, why do you?
Because he's gonna wind up being responsible in the long haul. Because even if he's not present, they're gonna take money out his check. He's gonna be responsible. He can go to jail and get his driver's license taken. So he's gonna be held responsible. But women, we can have babies and just throw them in the street and don't go to jail for it. We can put them in a box at the fire station and have no consequences and don't have to pay no child support. We can just drop them off with a family member. It's different. Women throw their babies away all the time. This is why we created the dynamic of that box being there, so these women can safely put their children in a box instead of putting them in a trash can, regardless of how they got the damn baby in there. Because everybody's circumstances wasn't consensual. But it happens. Yeah. This is what's happening. Women throw away their babies. So I just don't like to... So on my show, I really don't like to create this dynamic that men are this bad, these bad guys, and they just leave their children. They had sex with the woman, they just leave their children. There's always a dynamic. Some of these women are cantankerous as hell. Some men ain't even gonna put up with that shit. I didn't know you was gonna be like that. Oh, I'm out of here. I'm not even gonna stay around for another second. We always just try to make it seem like men run away from their responsibilities. No, some of you bitches are not take-a-careable people.
I would.
And your ass just get pregnant and think, now it's supposed to be, I get to control you because I got this baby. And this is the dynamic that we have been teaching our young girls, which is horrible. Because first of all, you can die on that table, young ladies. It's not guaranteed that you are going to walk off that table with a baby in your hand. So you're a fool for your mother not telling you that, first of all.
I mean,
everybody is not guaranteed to have a successful labor and delivery or a healthy child. So you kind of just throwing the dice in the air to do whatever, have anything come out you. And
But
then
you know
what?
what?
You don't know nothing about the DNA.
You know
Just
what?
silliness, man.
I think we're right in saying, okay, when you have a baby, don't go in with wrong expectations on some shame shit. But I'm gonna be honest with you, if we're gonna hold women to the shame, right, we gotta hold men to the shame. And I'm gonna say this:
It's
if
not
a
the
man,
same. It's not the
but
same.
hear me out. If
I get
men
what you're saying,
will,
but it's not the same.
if men have
Keep
three
your
hundred
damn legs
dollars
closed.
for, if men have $300 for an abortion, they have $300 for a DNA test too. Like, I've seen it. I used to be a child support case manager, and I used to have to tell men, hey, you can ask for a DNA test. You can ask for whatever you need before you sign an affidavit, which is a birth certificate.
Hmm.
And when it comes to not being married, the state does not really care about what you feel if you didn't enter inside of a marriage before having that baby. So when you have men that will impregnate, let's just be honest, what they consider as whole females or 304 females, and then there's the question of, well, why aren't you moral? We can't have the question of why aren't you moral when the act itself was immoral to even bring the child here, if we're really going to be honest and say, well, dude, if you didn't care to marry her, I mean, why are we talking about morality at this point? Like, really, why? Oh, because you're going to lose money in the court system. Well, what if we take that away? And now, you won't lose as much money in the court system. So now what? Because to be truthful, at least in Baltimore, 40% of, no, maybe, yeah, about 40% of child support cases are women paying child support to men. You have a good number of men, but there's a small portion that is paid to grandparents and the state. So it's like the numbers of the days of men primarily being on child support, it's not like that anymore. Women are on child support. I remember vividly men calling me reporting baby mamas, and I had to dip into people's accounts and clear it. And I'm
Mm.
talking about female accounts, not male accounts, female
Yeah,
accounts.
yeah.
And
One of my cousins was a
yeah,
man. She abandoned the home, and of course the judge found in the husband's favor, and the children was with the husband, and she absolutely had to pay child support for 4 kids. Sure did. Yeah, things changed later, you know what I mean? But
now it
yeah,
has.
yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Now
So
it
I mean,
has. Yeah.
mhm.
Before it wasn't like that, but now it's like that because men are now
As they should. Anybody who's not raising their kids and your kids is somewhere else, God damn it, pay for your kids.
just pay
Shit.
for it. But I'll be
Pay for
honest
your
with you.
kids.
The
But I
attitude,
think it's different. I think it's different when it comes to men and women. We need to raise our young girls up to know that, your reproductive system is something very valuable.
well,
It is a precious gift, and you should not let any and everybody just enter into that arrangement, because anything can happen with a condom, with birth control and all of that. They need to show a lot more discretion.
they should show more discretion
Because
if that's what they
ultimately,
want.
whether a man is there or not, they get married or not, the
Mhm.
man could die. Either way, you are the representative of that said child. You are the caretaker, the first nurturer. You pop that titty in the mouth, you're the first educator. It is your responsibility from the beginning till the end, whether there's anybody involved or not.
Well,
And
that's
so
the
it's on
thing.
you to either stay or drop your kid with grandma or your sister, or the foster care, leave them with their daddy. So ultimately is our choice. And I
Well,
would
it
tell young
is.
girls, don't bring unwanted children in this world. If a guy say, I don't want that goddamn baby, I wouldn't have it.
Well,
You're
I'll
gonna
say
have a
this.
combative relationship with somebody? No, we're not doing that. Mm-mm.
Well,
Protect yourself by all means, young ladies.
we can say that, but here's the thing: when you talk about sex and fear, these are two things that's not going to be regulated at all.
Well, we need to teach
People
them a
are
little
not
bit
going
harder
to
then.
protect
We need to give
themselves.
them a little bit more. Because I made my daughter cry, 8 years old, showing her vaginal care and the reproductive process, ovulation and menstrual and fertilization. My baby cried. She thought it was so miraculous. You understand? So imagine all the little girls and the little boys knew how magical their bodies was, and they really saw in depth what it does, what happens. And they would have a conscious mind of how their body works and what they need to be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, because ultimately, survival of the goddamn fittest, and they need to take care of themselves. So when you love self, you're not going to be out there reckless, letting any and body up into your most valuable possession. So for people running around talking about I love myself. Oh, on 100, you letting any and everything up in there. That is a valuable possession. And I just had a full hysterectomy. So all of that is out. You don't know what's going to happen later. Nobody is guaranteed. There's so much stuff in the food. Our young ladies is running around with all types of cystic fibroids, endometriosis, cervical problems. They have no clue. So telling our young ladies to not even check on their egg count is something that they can possibly do. They want to further a career, go into sports or whatever the case may be. They can go to their doctor and get a goddamn egg count and absolutely see how fertile they are. But us mothers, we're not telling our children this type of information. We're talking about having a goddamn baby shower. And let's find out what the gender reveal is. Like, we're really not giving them the tools to navigate in this world as humans. They barely know the organs inside their body. You think they know what a spleen is and what their fucking pancreas does?
Well,
Hell no. These are
well,
things that they should know very young, sis.
but
Imagine if they knew, they would care more about their body and
well,
what they put into it.
here's
Can't
where
allow the school to teach everything. School don't teach shit.
here's where I met with that, right? And I agree with you. The schools can't teach that, even though the schools try. They're not teaching that. They
Seventh
never
grade,
have.
they way
It
too
hasn't
late.
been successful.
Way too late.
So my thing is this, right?
I started in first
when
grade.
you have women that are more enamored with parties than they are of the institution of the party that the party represents, you have a cultural problem. That's a cultural problem, because it takes more than one person to have a baby shower. It takes more than one person to even create that energy that
Right.
says,
We have a
hey,
community
this
disaster.
is something that should be congratulated, right? If it's just one person or two people, that doesn't create anything. We got a cultural problem. So
Absolutely.
for instance, when I'm in some of these chats on some of these baby showers, the first thing I say is, oh, I like your picture, where's the father? Oh, I see you and the father together, but I don't see a ring.
And all these half naked. Everybody want to show off they
It's
naked
something
bellies
with
too.
yeah, I don't know about that. I'm
No, they
old.
naked with flowers on them.
Yeah, I
And
don't
this is
understand that.
what's
That's
yeah. I just saw some early, and I was like, it's a bit much. It's
it is a bit much, but see,
pregnancy is so beautiful, but some things are just personal, y'all. It's
it
like there's
is.
some things people just don't want to be personal no more. It's just whatever. Get you
But
an
here's the thing.
OnlyFans page then.
Here's the thing. We like I said, we have a cultural problem, and that cultural problem is because not enough people are in the culture doing the right thing. Again,
Mhm.
with the children, as you said earlier, they're not necessarily being raised right now. They're just being kind of like brought up just on their own. And
Yeah.
then when they become 21 years old, between 21 and 29 years old, they're just out here in a sense floating around trying to find themselves through other people. And thus these parties fulfill that need. Now, granted, never mind the kid. The parties is fulfilling the need within inside of them. So therefore, unless someone like me and you are in the comment section and we say, hold on, you look like a skank hole in your picture. Like, don't let these people fool you. Like, people ain't gonna do it. I did that a few times.
Right.
I did,
Ooh,
and you know what happened to
I
me?
scream at people about the kids.
As soon as I say something, I get banned. As soon as I
Mm,
say something, I get banned. But here's the thing: I don't see that and not say anything, because my thing is I don't mind being banned. But that's why the culture is shit now, because too
right.
many people are like, you know what? That's them. It is what it is. No. If I see your shit on my timeline, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You know why? Because you open the comment section up for comments.
Right.
So I'm gonna tell you that I don't care what anybody say. You look like a Texas stripper talking about
Yeah.
you expecting a child. Like,
Ooh,
no, I'll tell them that. And that
right.
this is this, and they don't like that. Some of them have actually gotten to the comment section with me and said, "Who are you to tell me about what I do? I'm grown. I'm above 21, whatever the case may be." And they got it right. I ain't their mama. I really
That's
ain't.
right.
But when they say, "Who are you?" I'm the person that's also in the comment section too. That's who I am.
Hmm.
I'm
Right.
just like the person that just told you, "Go on, girl. Go on, guy. You look good."
I'm an observer. I have a
I'm an
perspective
observer,
as
right?
well.
I got that.
Hmm.
But see,
Hmm.
here's the thing: it only takes maybe 1 or 2 comments to get in somebody's heat. Because as much as they might still comment and post,
Hmm.
they still remembering that one person. And you know what I'm talking about? That one
Hmm.
person
Hmm.
told them, "Yo, you look like a," and that's what they thinking. So
Right.
while they still posting the dumb stuff, now they're trying to kind of curve it a little bit because they thinking about that extra in there, because now the right person, or at least one person, then planted that seed in their head in the opposite, that
Right.
no, don't believe the hype, bitch. Like that's what I'm doing. Like on, I don't want to say on the low, because it's not really on the low,
On the
right?
low.
That's on the top, right?
Right, right.
Like I'm doing it
Out
on the low.
out front.
Right, I'm out front doing that in the comment
Yeah,
section.
listen.
Granted, I do get banned, but this is what I feel my duty is in the moment. Remember, I said people get consequences and rewards in the moment. That's my way of saying, here in this moment, when you present this to me, and I feel like this is adult content and children shouldn't see this, I'm gonna tell you about yourself right then and there. I'm not gonna wait till later.
I mean, and it's not even people, sis. I'm on TikTok, and I fight for the kids. So when I see, the children being used as sexual objects, meaning putting on little halters and making them dance all sexually and having these old big page, I try to block them. I even report them.
Yeah.
And they always come back to me and say nothing's wrong with it. They don't see nothing wrong with these little 3-year-olds walking around in halter tops and having long ponytail braids like the girls be doing, all the way down to her feet. 20,000 followers. 20,000 of y'all are following a baby. And I'm so confused about it.
What's
It's one
really
thing. It's
confusing,
one thing to try to get a modeling contract, and it was a way that they did it. You go get pictures, you go to a professional, and you get headshots, and But now this is the easy access. But you don't realize how many people are saving your children's stuff. There's so many pedophiles out there, and this is just free porn for them. You don't understand the little innocence of your baby's face and their pokey lips dripping with fucking drool. It's something for them. Some people prefer your children. They're called MAPs, minor attracted persons. Yeah, they're looking for full inclusion, to not be shamed for preferring children. So, it's a thing.
So let me
So
say
when mothers are being fools and idiots, I'm going to point it out, and I don't care if they like it or not. And I don't really get too much pushback. I ain't even going to lie. I be getting 10,000 views on my TikToks and stuff, and I be shaming hard. I be going, the shit that I clip and put up there, I be going hard. And I rarely get, I don't get nobody in my message box. I don't get nobody saying nothing crazy. I might get a comment and go back and forth, but most of the people in the comments go back and forth with each other.
Well, right, and rightfully so.
Yeah, y'all go right ahead.
Right, rightfully so, because look at what's happening. You're saying that the deletion of shame and morality in the culture, right, in one instance, is moving to other things, and that's how it goes. It happens. Remember, they say give it an inch, it's gonna take a mile. You gave some an inch, right? So now you have the MAP people that feel like, well, if you're not gonna shame the sluts, you ain't gonna shame us now. We want free inclusion too. So this is why I said it has to come from within, and we have to do that in multiple different ways, inside ourselves first, and then as a collective. Because now with the MAP, right? Now when you say that, now not MAP, but when you say the whole words out, that hit people here, because it hits you here when you hear.
And when they see it around, they actually have their own symbols and stuff. Colors. They're in classrooms and stuff. So, people need to be aware of this stuff, because they're around. They're everywhere. Your doctors,
they're around.
Teachers and nannies and the cousin and the nephew and the grandpa.
But people ain't mad about it until it hits their family. They're not mad.
I mean, and to me, that kind of mindset is shameful. Because as human beings, we need to get back to caring about one another. We're never going to get better if we don't care about one another. It can't just be, I only care about my 3 daughters and my son. No, I care about your children. When I'm outside, and I'm paying attention to your children. Hopefully trying to prevent them from harming themselves or someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me how they're just not outside. And I mean, I've been doing this for the oldest is 27. I've been doing this for 27 years plus with these kids, in and out of the park, roller skating ring, the mall, the movie theater. The kids need us, man. They need us to be present, and we're not, because we're at work for 10 hours, and then we're on our phone, and then we're worrying about the dude, and not worrying about the father.
But you know what, Ms. SheSaid, it takes courage on people like yourself on their part, because there's other circumstances, right, where you might find yourself in where you have to speak up to allow people to understand, listen, whether you feel shame or not, you ain't gonna do this here, and we're gonna make sure of that. It takes a lot of courage to do that. I remember once I was in Forever 21, and there was two ladies in there, a lady that she was like 65 and one that was like 30. Now mind you, I don't know how they got in the same store together, but both of them were sleeping with the same man. One was married to him, one was the new girl, whatever. The new girl had two small children with her. The older woman that was like 65 was yelling and screaming at the register, and I had my son with me, and I heard it. I tried to ignore it so they could calm down. They didn't. It just escalated. So when I came over, I said to both of them, I said, excuse me, ladies, can you guys take that language outside because there's children present. It was 3 children, her 2 and my son. The older lady turned to me and was like, what you say to me? And called me out my name. And she started walking close to me, right? Now, mind you, I'm not afraid of nobody walking close to me. I already understand I could literally like take her life if I really wanted to. But she could walk close to me. So when she got closer to me, I just whispered into her ear, this isn't worth your life, man. Step away. Okay? You're not going to do this in front of these children right now. Because she was trying to attack the woman. Right, and I'm telling her, if you want to attack, do it the right way. Go outside where you're supposed to attack people at and do it the fair way. Not in front of her 2 children right here. And there's no police around, nothing. Don't do that. And
over
so,
some man.
That's what I'm saying. Now that's a good question. But
that's a whole nother topic. You don't even want me to talk about that sharing thing, you know?
But my thing to those 2 women is, if you don't have no shame in sleeping with a married man, and you don't have no shame in talking crazy in front of these children about y'all sexual, whatever the case may be, no, both of y'all wrong. I don't care about the man in this instance. Both of y'all are wrong. Now, if I'm not woman enough to look at both of y'all and say, listen, this is wrong, and whether or not you want to hit me in my face or not, then nothing's gonna change. If everybody feel like, you know what, it might start a fight, so let me just let it go down. That's how we're gonna go to hell in a handbasket. People got to have more courage to speak up when they see shameful things happening, so that the culture can start regulating itself back a little further. Because I'm be honest with you, I think everybody has an uphill battle if they feel like they're the only one saying, hey, this is shameful, why are y'all doing this? Right. It makes people,
I know I'm not the only one. Right.
Yeah, you're not the only one, but it's hard when it's like a minority of people and like 99% is just going off. It's hard. So the best thing to do is in the moment. Don't inbox people, talk to them later on in private. No, right there.
Deal with it right there. People don't like to do that because they're afraid of the confrontation.
That's what I'm saying. They're afraid.
It's hard. I think most people don't know how to de-escalate a situation. They don't know how to articulate their thoughts accurately. We move, we speak more on our feelings, and people may take that differently or unfairly because it's your feelings.
Right.
Your feelings can change in 5 minutes.
That's true. That is true.
And people just, and a lot of us women, we do move like that and we speak like that so adamantly. I feel. Well, what do you think? Let's think about this for a minute. Fuck what you feel right now. Because I can feel a lot. I felt a lot throughout 25 years of marriage. But what did I think about what was happening?
Oh,
that's more important. Learning to understand, because you have to learn to understand.
That's a good question. And I don't think too many people know how to separate. Like, you'll ask them what you think and they'll still answer what they feel. As Absolutely. If it's what they think, because they don't really understand
it's the same
difference. And and even I've struggled.
I had to learn it. I had to learn over time.
I had to learn it.
And my logical husband, which some would say, don't have feelings, which absolutely does. But when we're starting to try to build and communicate with each other, we have to talk about thought and not feeling all the time. Now we can address your feelings and your emotional state at this moment or that moment or whatever. But your thought is what I need. And if you need to take a little time to think about it, and me, I was the person, I needed to write it down. Because I grew up toxic, and I'm fight, freeze, or flight. I'm fighting. My instinct was always to fight. quick. So I've never been a confrontational person. I didn't have relationships with people where we're back and forth and blah blah blah. I'm not doing all that. And what you say, hi? We not. No, I didn't move like that. I grew up with brothers, stair steppers. I say something new, cock me in my face. Like it was no, separating because I was a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And being my mother had to battle with all three of us, like having triplets. It was like, listen, you want to battle with them like you a damn boy? Don't come to me running and crying. And they couldn't come to her running and crying when I hurt them. You
Mm-hmm.
got a sore nuts or I done scratched you up or something. It's like, well, you don't mess with her.
Right.
You
Don't mess.
understand what I'm saying? So I had to learn to not be offended when
Mm-hmm.
I needed correction or there was a perspective that was saw how I was acting or behaving. And when it came from my husband, it was like, whoa. But because I loved him so much,
Mm-hmm.
I had to listen first instead of me attacking at him. And that's something that he saw in me. I had that control to not,
Mm-hmm.
because he saw me in my essence of that. So he knew exactly what he was signing on for with where I came from, the environment I came from. But he saw that I was very well disciplined and I didn't move in a cantankerous way where I invited that type of energy
Mm-hmm.
ever. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But don't bring it to me because I will not back down. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of them back and forth with the talk. I can't do that. You interfere into my space, and I am going to
Respect.
react to that. I'm
Yeah.
going to respond right away. But I can decipher if someone is really threatening to
Mm-hmm.
me or not. And not everybody is that skilled, let's just say, because I've had to
Mm-hmm.
de-escalate some situations, and I
Mm-hmm.
never mind stepping into a parent-child de-escalation situation. And I always come across parents who have children with special needs and are on the spectrum. And the first thing I notice with them is that they're embarrassed. So I instantly let them know, listen, I'm here for you right now in this moment. Don't
Mm-hmm.
be embarrassed. You know what I mean? This is a child, and the child has no self control at this time. Let's try to change the dynamic of what's happening. And I think me just stepping into that presence gets that child to be up under the mother because like now I need your protection because I don't know this chick.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know?
you know what? With the embarrassment piece, right? I think sometimes as females, and I'm gonna say females, we get embarrassed when other females check us on how we're dealing with our children
Hmm.
because we have this ego that says, as a mom, you it is your right to do as you please with your children, when in fact naturally it's not your right to do as you please. That's not
Right.
what this
Not if
is.
you're harming them now.
Right
No,
now, if you're hungry,
absolutely not.
it's not your right, like period.
And sometimes
But
they don't know no better,
right, they
or
don't.
it's
But
hard to
here,
change their own behavior.
but here's the embarrassment piece. Because we get embarrassed when we get checked, we
Hmm.
will, and I mean females, not women. Females
Hmm.
will reject the checking, right? And
Hmm.
instead of taking it as a learning curve, we'll take it as a course of
Disrespect.
of violence, right? And we'll
Right, right.
feel like somebody is trying to physically come at us when in reality they're trying to make us better. But
Hmm.
because we take it as, well, you're trying to hurt me versus make
Hmm.
me better, now they are in a mind state of, let me reject this
Right,
shaming, when in
right.
reality it's not about hurting you in terms of your motherhood, right? Your right over your children.
Hmm.
However, you're not the only one with rights over your children. For
Hmm.
instance, I had to tell one lady this because she told me, don't tell me what to do with my children. And I
Right.
told her, I'm definitely going to tell you what to do with your children, because your child is going to leave your house and going to leave out that door and going to meet probably one of my kids. And then when my child come home with something or someone, or with
Hmm.
something they can't get rid of, now it's involving me and my family. So don't tell me I don't have a right to at least tell you, hey, what you're doing with your child is going to result in this,
Hmm.
because we are all here influencing each other. So it's not a matter of feeling embarrassed. But I'll be honest with you, I think as grown adults, not the young ones, but the
Hmm.
older people,
Hmm.
we got an ego problem that we feel, and it's almost a God complex that we feel like somebody else can't tell us
Absolutely.
about our children. When in fact, I know my father, even now, he'll come in and tell me stuff about how I'm raising my kids, and my oldest is 25. I got one 22
Hmm.
and one 13. And
That's
he'll,
right. You don't never stop parenting. Mine too. Absolutely.
I'm
And
old
I
enough now to have
appreciate
a
all of it. And they say the same thing, take what you need and throw the rest away. Like I have a perspective though, because I
Mm,
know what I see from the outside. I'm on the outside looking in, and I may have a better perspective because y'all might miss something.
correct. Right. And that's
So it's
usually
it's
how it is.
always respected, right? And that's how we should be as parents. We're gonna always be guiding and parenting our children for the rest of their lives. When your child has a child, you're
Mm,
going to want to help that child through all of that, be it a boy or girl. You're going
mm,
to tell him how to comfort his lady, and you're going to try to tell her what's the best things to eat or not eat,
mm.
and keep her body right and stay active. And this we're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want my children to repeat a lot of the mistakes I made as a teenager. And I say that with so much grace, because when I came out of teenage years, I didn't act like a child.
Mm,
Once I left them teenage years, I was ready to be an adult. And I thank God I met my husband at 20. I was just turning into 21, and I was locked in. And when he
mm,
showed me how good of a man he was in a small amount of time, probably two
mm,
months of time, I was locked in. Took us 5 years to seal the deal and get engaged, 8 to get married. But
mm,
25 years later, we still here. And it
mm,
took a lot of work, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of sads, and we had to isolate ourselves from everybody else for a good 12 years, sitting still
mm-hmm.
with just us and the
Just
kids.
y'all.
Can you imagine?
Hey, I listen. When I
Not having no friends nearby. I mean, but no, people
yeah.
don't realize that. And that's where this is where I'm supposed to be.
Mm,
Not worrying about trying to go hang out with my friends and da 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 da. Nah,
right.
family night. Sundays is family. You know what I mean? We
Mm.
had regular routine, and
Grown woman stuff. Yeah.
it set a great foundation for our kids.
Yeah. Grown woman
But
stuff.
to some degree, like I told my husband, we gave the children, a type of life that we may have wanted, to have
Mm-hmm.
both parents present, watching them love and nurture each other, and, the life that they had. We kind of, admired, wish we would have had something like that, right? But in turn, for kids, not all of them are going to acquiesce to this type of life. They're not looking for it.
Yeah.
Our first two, or the oldest two, said very young that they didn't want kids. 9 and 11. Like, that's not something I want, because they're quite selfish people, and if they choose to change that, they have to change that dynamic. You cannot think about, so I'm appreciate the awareness and the logical mindset, and them being purposeful in how they're moving.
Mm.
So, that doesn't happen,
Right.
Madison's the only one. The last one is like, yeah, I want to be a wife and a mother. So that's
Well,
a
you
whole
know
different
what?
training.
I've told my daughters, because she's the oldest, when she was young, so many times
Their minds didn't
that
change.
she needs to be purposeful, right? But I've also, at least in recent days, I've been a bit more strict on my sons than my daughter, because my daughter, she comes into a world that's already set to breed her to be a certain way, as far as her career, as far as like how she moves, right? So she escaped teen pregnancy and all of that, right? But for my sons, I had to be a bit more hard on them to help them in terms of that shaming element, because I
Hmm.
had to express to them that no one can get pregnant without you, with your child. No one. She could lay there with her legs gapped open for 16,000 years. Without you going up in it, there will be no child. So I told them, and every time I see an example of some bullshit, I point to it. And I
Right.
said, look here. I said,
Yes.
come here, look here. I said, when you get older,
Don't
I,
do that.
I took my 13-year-old. I said, you
That's
see that
right.
right there? I said, if you go pick the wrong woman, you're going to be dealing with that. And guess what I'm going to
Absolutely.
be doing? Guess what I'm going to be doing? And he be like, what you going to do? I'm like, I ain't babysitting. You're going to be in that by yourself. Don't do that. And so even with my oldest son, his father had to drill it in his head and say, listen, me and your mother struggled. Your mother struggled as a single mother. Do not make a woman a single mother. You watched your mother struggle with you. Don't do that to another woman.
Hmm.
And my sons now, even my 13-year-old, will say, when you say you want to have kids, they're like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Like, we talking about in a marriage, not in a marriage? How old am
Hmm.
I? Like, where
Hmm.
we at? What
Hmm.
kind of job I got? Like,
Right.
it's
Right.
a real hard thought process. Even
Hmm.
though I know my sons is out there with little girls, I know that.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right.
they understand that when it comes to picking a woman, it's a political decision as well as a familiar decision. Because as you know, marriage is not between two people; it's between two families.
Mm.
And you bring the wrong
Hmm.
family in, you will have hell on your hands forever.
Hmm.
Because you and that child is yours forever. So don't combine families that don't need to be combined.
Right, right,
Don't even do
right.
it. And that's what, and
Unless you two are willing and committed to separate yourselves away
from
from the
that family, right?
goddamn family.
Right, and that's fair. If you're willing
Cause
to do that, then
you
sure,
know,
go ahead. Right, if you're
right.
willing to do it, go ahead. But don't be all willy nilly, not understanding what is really going on because you in your emotions, you feeling the sex, it's there, whatever. Like
Hmm.
I've had to go hard on my sons because, like you said in the beginning, they're gonna pay the cost for it more. So I need them to be a bit more calculative than
Hmm.
for anything else because they're the progenitors of this whole thing.
Hmm.
So, and they're the ones at the end of the day that could lose everything behind picking the wrong woman. Like the woman can lose her life, they can also lose their life too, like in
Hmm.
a different way. And
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like as
Not
far
her just calling the police on him. Like, be mindful. Any woman that's gonna call the police on you for some
for love
argument or you
like
cheated
that,
on her,
you
you need
gotta
to not deal with her.
right,
Roll
you need to
out.
be that good. Yeah, you gotta
That's
learn how
not.
to
We don't do that. Just knowing the black man's plight, and having a little respect and a little understanding of that shit should be upfront. Just a basic human respect people should have, and if they don't exhibit that, you should be able to notice that and get the hell out.
should be. But here's the
Uh,
thing: when it comes to shame, right? I
mhm,
told my daughter, like my father told me, the shame in our family is if somebody puts their hands on you and we come, we're expecting it to be a certain situation, meaning you didn't put your hands on them, you didn't provoke them, and they are clearly in the wrong. But if we come to the situation and you as a woman have provoked, even if you ain't put your hands on the man, you provoked him, you put your hands on him, you put your hands near him. You see what I'm saying? Or you called the police and in a situation that didn't warrant that on some dumb shit, you're gonna have a problem from us, not him, from us, because
mhm,
now you're misrepresenting everything I poured into you. You've wasted my time as a parent, and now you represent me out here looking stupid, and now I gotta deal with the consequences when it happens to you. Like, so no, it's when he puts his hands on you, that automatically involves me and my father. So no, you're not going to be out here misrepresenting how I raised you. Yes, I'm going to come at you at 25, 30 years old and say, I didn't raise you like that. What is you doing? Don't what and I
And see,
shouldn't
we
have
grew up hearing that a lot of the times. You have 7, 8 kids come out of a litter, and the mother will be like, "I didn't raise him like that. I don't know what happened." Because we human.
right.
People
We
are
are.
people.
We
We
are.
think that it's some shit that's just genetically in their DNA. You a fool. You just a damn fool.
Yes.
You a lame. You a lame. You a gutter snipe. You're gonna be a gutter snipe. I mean, is nothing gonna change that. Like you said, what are we gonna do with these women in their 40s? I don't care. I
Mm-hmm.
could care less. If you chicks want to change, by all means, look in the mirror, find something to change it. That's on you. I care about the younger folk. I care
Mm-hmm.
about the wombs that are still intact. So, my messages are for them. Don't be a fool. Do not repeat none of my shit, none of my mama shit, none of my grandmama shit,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm exposing it. And when I see the kids it's crazy. It's crazy because you know what Baltimore's education system is
Yes.
right now. So imagine the idiots of adults walking around,
Mm-hmm.
the people who lack comprehension.
Well, let me say this, right? As
It's
far as
amazing.
comprehension, right? I never say to my children or anybody else's children, like my nephew, I never remind them of the time of my mother or my grandmother or my great grandmother, right? Because I don't agree with what happened back then in terms of why they did what they did, like why they stayed in relationships, why they got into them. In my opinion, was immoral, and it trickled down to what we have today, right? So I feel like we're at the bottom right now. I feel like we're at the bottom, and our generation is having to say now, what now? Do we continue on not having kids and getting married, or do we change something? Whatever the case is, are we changing something? Now we have to change, right? Because we need to move somewhere. So I don't, like you said, when it comes to the moral piece, we're not using religion as a basis. That's not exactly what that is. I don't
I mean, I
use.
would say yes because mine's came from that. And my
Mhm,
husband's came from that,
mhm,
regardless if it was followed up in the home by the parents and stepfather,
mhm,
and then the rules of the world. but it stemmed from that. So it's not that they scathed completely, because ours is intact from that. So they kind of got it from us. So
Mm-hmm.
it's still passed down. They still
Right.
got it from the church. They still got it from some
In
type of
some
religion,
degree,
because
yeah.
that's where we got it from.
Right. In
Because I
some
would
degree,
tell them all the time, if I not had those stories from this great book
yeah.
that I comprehended as a child,
Right. You
fully
wouldn't be who
understood
you
what
are.
they were
Right.
saying. You understand what
You
I'm
wouldn't be
saying?
who
But I
you are. And
still went out
that's fair.
as a
That's fair.
teenager and created my own experiences and said, you know what? I probably should have listened. Now I'm going to change the trajectory before I become a complete adult and make even worse decisions for myself. Winding up with a whole bunch of baby daddies, being locked up,
Mm-hmm.
deleted, just being in the wrong places at the wrong time, because these are just the communities a lot of us come from. So we have to try to scave away from being in the wrong place at
Yeah.
the wrong time.
We
Because a
do
lot
have.
of times I had to say, nah, I don't want to go to that warehouse club because I know the type of environment that's there. I'm going to stay back here on the block and chill out. And
But
every time it was a shootout, somebody got shot, some it was always something. You understand what I'm
it is
saying? So
always
my
something.
conscious mind's like, yeah, that's not, I don't feel protected in those places. Ask my husband, the first few years, he would go out by himself. He's a cancer. He has no problem taking himself out and go have him, some Buffalo Wild Wings, or go watch all of that. I was one of them wives. I didn't mind, and I was never one of them calling, "Oh my God, are you cheating on me? Why do you need to go out?" Because he needs a peace. I found my peace in other ways. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I think what you're saying to a degree, right, is that as women, we have to protect ourselves first in using common sense.
Absolutely.
And
Because
not
I
just
mean, we seem
in
so smart. We say we're so smart, but we seem so easily manipulated by men.
well,
And that's what it sounds like. He said he was this, and I thought, oh my God. If I hear that one more time, it's like, really, how old was you? I was 23. Oh, okay. So you just didn't know nothing. With all the TV and all the exposure to all these movies and shit. Like, you know, excuses, but I can understand. Not really.
she said not really.
Not really. I'm capping. I'm serious.
Don't cap, don't
I'm
cap.
almost 50 years old, and our children have a lot of common sense. So,
Hmm.
it can't just be because, we're their parents.
Right, and that's
You
all I'm
know,
saying.
like,
Right,
come
it
on,
ain't.
man.
Yeah, it ain't simply that. It
Jeez.
has to be
I
because
don't
of common sense. It has to be because of the things that you literally believe in and truly what's at the core of you. And I mean, and this is why, and this isn't no offense to the older women that might be in the spaces here, right? And I'm talking about like
we love
65
them.
plus, right?
Hmm.
But I kind of feel like their generation did too much damage to come back now and talk about those days of when they. I just feel like it was
I
just too
mean,
much.
and if we're gonna say that, I have to say, this whole society has done us a whole freaking disservice. Like, this has been a horrible trend. We make it seem like we got to such a great place from where we was after slavery.
Right, we did.
No, we
We
should
did.
have did what the brothers wanted to do when we had a decision to leave.
Mhm.
But the majority of black folks wanted to stay
Yeah,
here.
they want to
So it
stay.
wasn't a collective, and now look at the shit. We following behind white people life.
Mhm.
The model of our lives are modeled behind them. They the ones who control the media, the music, and look at it. We used to wonder if life depicted media or does media depict life. But shit, I grew up with self-destruction. I grew up with Queen Latifah and MC Light. You understand? And DOS Effects and Wu-Tang. This is a different world for me. When they talking about throat babies, there's no respect. And child, they ride in the car with these kids. These kids know these songs. I absolutely know none of these songs. So when I see these kids singing them, I have to tell them sometimes, yo, turn that off. All these little kids in the park, you can't find something else to listen to? Put it in your ear or something. Nah. It's bad enough it's coming out of y'all mouths, but you actually having the songs play and the kids is playing in the park.
But you know what? That goes back to the
Lord.
mothering piece. It's like as a mother, if you like the type of music you like, but you don't care whether it's around your children or not. No, and now don't get me wrong, right? There's some
Sis,
music
they
that
don't
I
want to be
get.
mothers. I think they want to be fathers, and then they want to be
No,
bad
I
fathers.
listen. I
They
don't
they
think
choosing the bad father to be as women.
But see, it's his thing. They're choosing bad and they're doing bad and they don't care either way. Because don't get me wrong, I listen to music that have adult themes, right? But I understand I can't
But you
play
wouldn't
that around my
expose it right
kids.
in front of your
Right,
children.
I can't play that around my kids. So
Right.
I'm not saying that they can't listen to what they want to listen to. So I don't want nobody to think, oh, I'm
I'm
trying to
saying it. My children cannot listen to what they want to listen to
right.
as long as they're in our presence. And if I hear it, I will tell them that is unacceptable. Don't play it in my house. And I don't want to hear it. Of course, you're going to
They
listen to
shouldn't
it.
want to, right?
But
But
some
see, that's
stuff, But our kids are quite eclectic. They K-pop, they listen to some ratchet stuff. They'll even come and show us like, yo, look at this. You understand what I'm saying? But it's definitely a level of, yeah, nah, there was no love in hip hop. And I used to love watching that I'm talking
back in the day.
15
Yeah,
years ago, right? Just for kicks, right? That was my little
yeah,
kick.
I did the
But
same.
let them come walking in the room, boop, off TV. They couldn't hear it. I had it low because I didn't want them to hear the cantankerousness. Like, wow. But as Nana, our older one, got to like 15 or 16, I would call her in the room, like, look at this shit. Look at these chicks. You better not. You see that? We don't do that. Okay? So, giving them a view because you don't see me act like that and I don't have you around people that act or behave like
Right.
that. So I didn't want them to be clueless about how some people act,
Right.
But we always go back home so they get a little.
But you know what I think what you're doing is you're teaching them the element of shame without the negative polarity that is constantly there, but you're not teaching it to them from a negative perspective. For instance, my mother, she would try to do what you just explained, but she would do it from the negative point of view. Like she would tell us, if you play this, you're going to hell and I won't be there. And then she would do it from just that. And it never worked.
That's how the
It
elders
never
work.
worked. It never worked. I never felt like I could be open myself. And like your kids will come in the room and say, hey, look at this. They're not ashamed to show you who they are. And so what you get from them is genuinely who they are. So you know who you raising. When my mother was raising us, she didn't know us at all. Everything was on the underground because they wanted to teach us about shame from a position that isn't realistic for human beings. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Absolutely. I mean, and I just saw, being 23 with our first child, because again, Mr. He said had a son 2 years. He was 2 years old when I met him. So we had our first child. I was 23. By that time, I am an auntie of 4 or 5, a godmother already of 5, 6 years, so I've always been around children. And again, just watching how, school, the same educational system we all been through. If you went through the public system, it's still the same. I mean, they actually took a lot of stuff out of it. So the kids are not getting nowhere near as much as what we were getting back when we were going to school. So, just to see that dynamic, I knew that it was so important to teach my child when I gave birth. 6 months, our first child's first words was thank you.
Really?
6 months sitting on the bed and just signaling me, because we did a lot of sign language. So signaling me for something that they wanted on the bed. I don't remember what it was. And I went and I handed it to her, and she grabbed it and she said, thank you. I said, I lost my mind. I was running up and down the hallway. 6 months. We both worked. So we're fluctuating, working at night, he's doing security, I'm retail, it was crazy. So, just me knowing that we have so much power. We have so much power as mothers and nurturers of these little creatures, man, because they are little human beings. They're going to grow up. They don't stay little long. But I see a lot of women have this, fantasy idea of having this baby, and they have no clue. And then when they have it, they don't know what the frick to do. They don't keep a regular routine, a regular schedule. You're losing your scruples because your hormones is all over the place, and the man ain't doing what you want him to do. You can't control everything. It's amazing. So I'm more so want to be a guide, learn a lot of these tools before you set into this motion, because it's very important. It's very important. You really have to be a teacher when it comes to your children. I mean, really teacher mode. And people are not there. They're not there. They're so willing and ready to drop them off at somebody, and put them at risk. And I'm to a point where we need to get back to having that family dynamic so mothers are allowed to be home with their children.
I think, and I agree with you.
More.
But I think that'll happen more when
it's happening more.
No,
I'm
I
surprised
see it. I
at
see it
how many people
are staying
are
home with the
doing this.
yeah.
And like I said, media controls everything. Is a lot of beautiful black love and a lot of beautiful black families
Hmm.
that are thriving, but you do not see them getting reality shows where
Right.
it's so much bull crap on. This is what they
Okay.
want to push because the
Yeah.
young people are being raised by TV. So if they're watching this stuff, I mean, it's going to take us to turn it off. And sadly, if our country's going to war, if any type of
Hmm.
disaster happens, we're going to be forced into it. Versus we were kind of forced into it. We were kind of forced into it during the pandemic, but after it was like freedom. Now it's even worse.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
But you know what?
Child.
I think from a governmental level, right? I think the U.S. government can now. This is taking the conversation a little further, but I think the U.S. government could stand to take a hint from the Chinese government. Meaning this: the Chinese government understands that
They're gonna be taking control of
right, but
by
not even. I don't even think it's
shit.
really about control. I think, for instance, the Chinese government and the Japanese government, the Korean government, they heavily censor their social media based on what they want the outcome to be for the next 30
Hmm.
years. And
Absolutely.
they are winning because they're doing
I
that. Now,
mean,
granted, I will admit it's very strict over there, right? But
absolutely.
however, we could stand to take a page, not the whole book, but a
I mean,
page
and we can do it
out.
individually in our own homes. We shouldn't have to have the city just like here. The mayor is trying to propose this curfew, but that is not going to solve the problem.
Right, it's not, but
Parents,
it would
it
be
is
a
the
good
parents
idea.
that need to lock their damn doors. If you got to whoop your kid's ass, that's what you got to do. And this is where we are now. You got to have that foundation set very young. Because when they get to 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and the hormones and the streets start calling them, you
Mhm.
have no control,
But no,
especially
no,
if there's no father around.
I heard about that, right? About the curfew. But here's where I think it's a good and bad idea. You can't just expect children to come in the
Oh,
house.
it's a good idea, of course,
But
but
what you can
it's
do
not
is
gonna work.
what you can do say to these parents is, listen, we can't force you to put them in the house by 9. But if we catch them outside, that's $4,000 you're gonna pay up front. Out your check, your taxes, wherever we can find it in your bank account is coming
Hmm.
out. I
It's
bet you
fine.
the kids be in the house at 8:30. I
It
bet you
should be a
that.
possibility. It should be a warning to possibly lose their job.
Correct. Well, actually, if that happens,
Because I
they
find that
probably
much in this poverty driven town, that's too
mhm.
much. That's a lot.
But
Even
no, no. Look
$50,
what
even
they do with the
$100,
taxes. Look what they do with the
something.
taxes, though.
It
They
needs
do
to
that
be
with
something.
taxes.
Take away your goddamn food stamps or any type
No,
of
they're not gonna do that. They ain't
assi-
gonna do food
I
stamps.
mean, strip it, something.
They're gonna take away
Because
the money.
the parents need to be held responsible.
They
I
the
absolutely
only thing that
under age 17 and 8 months, anything under 17 and 8 months, parents need to be held responsible to some degree, whether it's a fine, whether they need to show up in
yeah,
court, but it all costs money. And this is why they're
right.
not going to do it. It's too much money because all the kids are out of control. The parents would
No, no,
be,
no, no, no. Look at it the way the
child,
government look at it the way the government see it. The government see it
oh,
as
yeah.
the more people that come into this system, the more money we make. The more times people got to be in court, the more money we make. The more children that got to go to jail, the more parents that got to be fined, the more money we make. So they don't mind people getting fined. They okay with that. But the issue is they're not making the penalty for not being a parent stiff enough. If all you got to do is pay a $25 fine because your child was outside killing somebody, you're gonna
Oh,
pay a
Lord, no.
$25 fine.
Mm-mm.
But if somebody says your whole tax check is coming to us if your child is caught outside, let alone commit the crime, people
Hmm.
will start moving. They will.
I think it could be as simple as taking a damn phone,
What you mean? Taking them phone?
taking the parents' phones.
No, that's a
They could
constitutional
just
right.
get another one. I
Yeah,
know.
but
But
if they start moving like them, like the government do with them tickets. Oh yeah, they do that. Yeah.
and they're
No.
just not gonna
Not your
pay them.
registration, your car registration, right?
Okay,
That right there.
that that
That'll move
something
some.
to your license. It has to be something. It has
Yeah.
to be something because the kids are out of control. I mean, even during the pandemic, we was on curfew. You couldn't even be outside. If I show you some of the videos of the block that I lived on, it was ridiculous.
What? Because
Ridiculous.
it's outside.
All the young kids was outside jumping on people's cars. They was having whole full on parties, girl. Every other day I was outside having to clean up trash. It's a damn
Mm,
shame because I couldn't live like that. I didn't know we're not from here. So looking for that second place, I
mm.
didn't know where we landed. Even doing the vetting we did, it was February, so it's
Oh,
cold. Ain't nobody out.
right
You
outside.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness,
yeah, different. Yeah, very
child,
different in the summertime.
out of control. No respect. And they was having parties for the dead gangsters. They had coming home parties for the dudes coming home from jail, and this was like every other week in the summer. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Do you hear me? It was like two parties. Word to mother. Dudes came home from jail. They had clothes for 'em. They had the fly cars out there. So, really, this is what we doing? That's what my husband said. Well, shit, I should have went to jail because I come home, you have credit, you done got everything all set up for me, and you
But
know. But
but
this is the limelight that they show. They love it. You go to jail, it's still a thing to where they say that this is, a stepping stone for men in certain urban areas. It's absolutely here, absolutely. Look, you got the lights right outside. Somebody was getting shot earlier or being shot at earlier today, and we're in a nice neighborhood. This is a
yeah,
nice
go ahead.
neighborhood.
Nice neighborhoods and stuff still going.
So, oh,
But they
sis,
don't. But
it's unique.
that's the thing, right? It's like, yeah, we do have an issue, right? But I want to say that issue can be mitigated, but
Hmm.
it can't be mitigated if we're gonna tell people that you should feel bad about what you're doing, because people don't feel bad and we're not going to
They
change it.
don't.
However, and even
Mm-mm.
with our own children, if they don't feel bad about it, they don't feel bad about it.
Right.
However, those consequences, choices and decisions leading to consequences in the moment is what drives people to do right in the moment.
Hmm.
And all I'm
Your
saying,
peers can do it.
right,
Your
peers
peers can
can do
drive you to
it,
do right. Because I
parents can
noticed,
do
I
it,
noticed at
everybody can do
times if I checked a child in the park and they weren't listening, one of the other children will step up and check the child,
it.
and
That's
that peer is respected. So it works.
yeah.
You got to get the peers in line,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting there. They get it. The kids are little, show a little bit of
Hold on, Mrs. He said, I think you muted. There you go.
yeah. No,
Oh,
did
there
it
you
on
go.
its
There you
own.
go. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, your peer can do that. So and that's just like us being around each other. You got your best friend watching you act a fool, and you check her. She ain't gonna like it,
Right.
but it's gonna be in the back of her mind. My friend said I was pissy drunk and let some dude lick my butt on the damn bar, and you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But
Yeah.
we don't do that. Be like, girl, you was acting a fool last night. Them guys was all over you. Ha ha ha. No, you was passed out drunk.
Now, see,
Some
if
some friends leave their friends in
right,
places.
they leave their
You,
friends there,
yeah,
and we've been
y'all.
seeing that. We've been
It's not
seeing the updates
okay.
of
Come
that.
on. Didn't you see all them people didn't get charged with that young woman that got
Yeah,
child?
I seen it.
You see
Yeah,
where we are? And
yeah,
is it because come on, y'all.
yeah.
It's
I don't know if they was high. I don't know what happened, but I was sad behind that. I was really sad
that's
behind that.
dangerous. I mean, it's amazing to me. And then I would tell my children, you don't have any friends. We're your friends. Friends is a really strong. They have to really show and prove who they are, especially when times get hard. It's just
That's,
like your man, same characteristics. Vet
yeah,
the people around you, and if they're not show worthy, kick them to the curb. You do not need to have that kind of person around you. You know.
I totally agree with that, because at this point in time in the game, either you're gonna step up or you're gonna step to the side, because I mean, yeah, you ain't gonna really have too many people in the middle. You're gonna have people that actually care, and then the people that absolutely don't care. And honestly, it's unfortunate, but until society comes to a balance point, like as far as like how we think, not so much what we do right now, but just how we think, yeah, we got an uphill battle. But I wanted to have this conversation with you because it's like the idea of shame, ever since the whole quote unquote slut walk,
Mhm.
that's been like an issue with me, because I'm like, well, hold on, what? Like, I've always had that question of why aren't you ashamed to be a quote unquote slut, right? And
You
and
should be ashamed, right?
right, you should be ashamed.
Nobody should have to shame you,
Like
right?
nobody should have to. But and I've
If
always
you don't know
wondered.
it's wrong,
But
right?
they know it's in the moment they
Some
purport
don't
it.
know it's wrong, Oshun, because you know how many young women, come on now, out of 7 out of 10 of us have been molested. 7 out of 10, probably more. And men is
Yeah.
the same, 6 out of 10. It's not that different. So
So
I
what?
don't know a lot of the, our generation before, because I think we may have kind of saved a little bit of our children,
A
the
little bit.
last 10, a little bit.
A
But the
little bit.
generations before, my generation, just amazing. Just out of 14 friends, it's probably maybe three that wasn't, including me, that wasn't.
Mm,
So, and to meet so many women across this path, I'm talking thousands,
mm.
and the majority have had somebody, you know,
Do something like
expose them to
to the sex in the wrong way.
sexual acts very young, and everything wasn't forcefully, everything wasn't, hard graping or anything like that. And this is why I talk about pedophilia so much, because some are very gentle, and you don't know it's wrong because it's someone you love, and it's in the family, and it's an uncle or someone very close to you,
Mm,
even a brother or a
mm.
sister. And it really happens, and I don't think, we shine enough light on it.
Do you
And
think
you,
that has something to do with this mental like gap when it comes to shame? Some of the things that happen when people were
no, I
young.
don't think we talking to our children about their bodies, and the changes that they're going to be going through, and sex. I mean, and being explicit, talking about a penis and a vagina, and like these things are not really talked about with children. They don't think children are ready for it. But like I said, it's something we started talking from birth. Honestly, never made up fake names for the kids, private parts. And when it got to an age where we felt that they were able to comprehend the
Mhm.
anatomy, we exposed them to books, because we didn't have computers back then.
Right.
So we would stay in the library, so it was a lot of pictures and animation. So now that our daughter is almost 23 years old, to say, look back and say, I appreciate
Hmm.
you giving me all of that knowledge, because I'm schooling some of my people,
Right.
and I'm more confident in how I'm moving as a young person in this world. Hubby just picked her up from coming back from New York, just doing some modeling, walk training, and stuff. Her cousin hooked her up with, and she had to report when she got on the bus, when she got off the bus, when she got off the train and got to my nephew's house. While she was with my nephew, after the show, before the show. You understand what I'm saying? We need the addresses and all, and she's grown. It's just
Mm.
being responsible, because if something was to happen, who's
Right.
coming for you? We are.
Right.
We can't go out the country. We're not Liam Neeson or
Mm.
anything. You know what I'm saying? But we need to know, because all our family's in New York, and if something was to happen, you need anything, all we got to do is let somebody know where you are.
Hmm.
You know, because you're not protected. I don't care how old you think you are. This world is dangerous. I don't want my children walking around being completely fearful, but I want them to understand the dangers, especially them not growing up in the city. They don't know, because they
Right.
didn't need to live the life that we live. So telling them about it, explaining them being able to see it here and there, and now we're here, they absolutely know. So, it's a different walk, but we just need to prepare our kids, man. They are very intelligent. And teaching consent is something you can do in the diaper stages.
Hmm.
Simply asking permission to change their diaper, and you say it for months at a time. They absolutely understand what you're saying. They know what you're saying when you say, "May I change your diaper?
Hmm.
Do you need a diaper change? Can I open this, please?" You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So when you start to talk about consent
Hmm.
in the higher comprehension of sex with your children, they
Hmm.
understand. And I
Hmm.
say this because I didn't get any of that information. But honestly, when I had to go and ask, my mother was very open, because again, she's only 17 years older than me, and I am the baby of three, and she
Hmm.
was married. So when I did come with questions, she was more than willing to answer them.
Okay.
But she didn't have the blueprint to say, teach you like this.
Hmm.
But I saw that she didn't have that. So I decided consciously with our children to make sure I implement that, because I didn't know about my body, and I felt my own shame of being skinny and having one breast bigger than the other when you start going through puberty. And yo, it was crazy. All the insecurities that
Right.
young girls go through when they grow up, mothers need to be there to coach them through that, and
Mm,
don't look for boys for validation or anything else. We need mothers, we need aunties, we need each other to say, you know what? When I was 13, my breast was this and that. I started my period at this. How did it go for you? What color is the discharge supposed to be? Like, these are the kind of things that they need to know,
mhm.
and then they're coming to you and saying, I'm pregnant. And it's like, okay,
Are we? But outside of that, are we correlating? Are we correlating, let's say, some form of sexual assault to the way children can, and consequently act later on? Are we correlating those two things as far as like why they will feel like this is normal and there's nothing to be ashamed of because
yes,
they've been
absolutely. To
exposed
some
to
degree, yes.
some of that?
To some
Okay.
people, yep. If you interview a lot of the people on the street or in, stripper situations, hookers, yeah, a lot of them were inappropriately messed with, and usually by a close family member. Yeah. And it doesn't mean all, because I know plenty of people who are not streetwalkers and they also have been, you
Mm,
know. But, sometimes things that happen in your childhood stem to push you in a trajectory such as that,
right.
and you have no understanding of sex and intimacy. I mean, and a lot of them say they just black out. Like, it's just not even a thing. They don't, they do it because
Right.
that's
They
all
have.
they know,
That's
right?
all they
All
know,
they know.
and it's easier for them to just like you
And
said.
some have been taught. Some has actually been taught. I watch the Underbelly. I think that's what they call. And he
Mm-hmm,
goes out on the streets and does a lot of interviews with, junkies, prostitutes, strippers, anybody, it seems like. And the stories are amazing. Amazing.
mm-hmm,
And I say that to my kids, if I didn't have my husband, I honestly would pick up stray people. My heart is that big. I would have a whole house full of stray people trying to help people, because I see something in you you may not see in yourself. And if there's a way that I can help you, I want to help you. But I want you to want to help yourself. I can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves.
so you're talking about that internal work.
Absolutely. But they have to want it. And some people want it and they just don't know how. And I see that with the kids. These kids outside. This is why I go outside all the time, and I keep trying to build with them more and more every day. And I see them curtail their cursing because they see me outside. That's
Mm-hmm,
when you're getting to them. Because I'm definitely not outside like, don't do this. I want I'm playing jump rope. I'm bringing frisbees out. I'm water. You understand what I'm saying? I love these kids, and I want them to see that before I turn around and try to be like, don't do that. Don't be disrespecting the old man walking down the street with his daughter, and they straight be
right.
geeking on them. Do you hear me? Mean little kids.
Mm,
Child. And I because we were latchkey kids. We was outside street kids, but we weren't bad like that.
not
We were
like that.
not bad like that. We were not going out to just hurt people. And no, we were trying to build forts and, go on journeys to these long other towns and shit. Like, you
Mm.
know,
Well, part of the reason why we wasn't like that is because
we
other
had shame.
yeah, the shame was if you get caught, right? Other people will not care how you were treated by your parents. Meaning, like if you get beat down to like you get the white meat shown because you were acting up, and nobody will care.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
is when even the police won't care. At back in the day, if so,
Right.
you call the police, they would show up and be like, "Oh, you put your hands on somebody. Do you want us to take you downtown, or do you
Hmm.
want your mother to finish what she was doing? Which one?" That's how it was back then. And
Hmm.
even recently, like when my nephew got in trouble in school, and I came up to the school, the teachers normally they would have said, "Well, man, you can't touch the children." Da, 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 da. But when my nephew had put hands on the teacher and they were tired, I came up in there and shut that door, and I went to town on that boy, and suddenly they ain't had nothing to say.
Mm.
They, I don't see nothing. I don't see nothing. Like, but they would normally would be
Right.
reporting parents for doing that. But see, when it happens to the point where the children are so utterly disrespectful, now they feel like I need this boy to have some shame, so let this parent do what they need to do. But it
Hmm.
shouldn't get to the point where the child is now being that disruptive that now you feel like
Right.
you respect the parent for
Right.
disciplining the child.
Right.
It should have
I
always
mean,
been.
in discipline, it has to be a balance for it to work. You can't just be whooping your kids. You have to nurture them, love them, give them time and attention as well as reprimanding them when they do something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And every instance of doing something wrong does not cause for an ass whooping.
Correct.
So and it's hard to for parents to decipher the difference between those,
A lot of
talking back and all. So if the child is talking back, maybe you might want to check how you're talking to your child. They learned it from somewhere,
times. Mm-hmm.
because our children don't do that. And that's because we did not, talk to them disrespectfully, or, talk at them. They're
Correct.
humans. We're going to be respectful. Can you please get me that? And thank you. And may I? And yes, mom. No, dad. Like Madison is the only one that doesn't do yes, mom, and no, dad. We're
Right.
20 years later, so he's a little more lenient. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the instance of when you're calling your children and your child responds back to you to say what, that is unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, and they
And it's
should be.
hard to,
Yeah.
right. They don't know how. You have to correct them very early, and it becomes a habit. And then it becomes a habit, and they just respectfully, get in line like that. Mind you, some kids are just bad as hell, and you just can't do nothing with them, honestly. Because if you if
Well,
you if you changing your behavior is not going to change the child's behavior, then something may be wrong.
something may be wrong,
It
and
may
and,
be something
and I agree.
internally that they just can't control.
And I agree with you. And just overall, right? I guess the space I'm coming from when it comes to the why may be different, but the
Hmm.
how and the end result, I think we definitely agree on.
Hmm.
I had a friend some years ago. I had to stop being friends with her over this, but I had saw where, like in my family, I have never, and I don't know anybody that else has done this, but we've never called our parents by their first name.
We
I
do.
don't know how people get away with that, but
Right.
she allowed her son to do that, and her son would come around my son, and my son would see her son calling her by her first name, and I asked
Oh.
her, I said, "Why does he call you your first name?" And she said, "Because that's my name." And I'm like, "Girl, you old as me. Don't give me that. Why is he calling you by your first name? Because culturally, calling the people that's above you by their title and or
Hmm.
their title, it's a show, one, of respect, and two, psychologically it keeps them understanding that they are not your equal, and thus they have
Hmm.
to respect you a certain way. She
Right.
says, well, it doesn't take away him understanding that I'm his mother, this, that, and the third.
Hmm.
3 months later, he's coming to her telling her, I want to know what it feels like to be a girl. That's when I had to cut the cord. Now, I cut the cord because I told her the way you allow your son to be with you translates into other things. And those other things are things that, one, sometimes can be disrespectful, two, can be dangerous, and
Hmm.
three, can be weird, as you can clearly
Right.
see. So when I realized that the way she felt comfortable raising her child was detrimental, I had
Hmm.
to cut that off because my
Right.
child is my responsibility at the end of the day. And that
Right.
influence is still there. So I said, you know
Absolutely.
what, I can't do it. But she was
Hmm.
about 5 years younger than me. And
Okay.
I guess she felt like I wasn't old enough to tell her about children, right?
Age ain't nothing but a number.
Right. But
Maturity is important.
right, it's maturity. And I did explain what I meant by that is culturally what we don't do. We don't. You, as a child, you don't call me my name. You call me Miss Lola, Miss
Hmm.
Oshun. You don't just call me my
Right.
name. Like I,
Right.
it's so bad. I can't even call other people my age, like
Right.
parents' name. Like if I met a girl
Yeah.
named
Me neither.
Carolyn, I
Me
can't
neither.
really call somebody else Carolyn because that's my mother's name, and I'm not used to saying that. So
Miss
maybe,
so and so. Yep.
yeah, it throw me off
Or
because
I'll call her mommy or auntie something.
right, I got to call you something else.
Something.
But
Yes.
it's like, because I got to keep it in my mind. But that's because we were raised in a culture that said, listen, the reason why you do this is so that you will always be reminded that your elders are not your equal. So you
That's
do
right.
not call them by their first name as if they a year and a half older than you. Like
Right.
that's not what that is. But that, like you said, it doesn't mean that we can't check each other as far as maturity in things.
Hmm.
But I have seen that a lot with women my age. You feel like because I'm not your mother's age, I can't tell you that you're wrong with how you're
Hmm.
raising your child and how it's going to translate into life when they have
Right.
no respect for nobody
Hmm.
and or you. Like
Right. It is a possibility. I mean, and if they can't see it, then that's on them, you know?
Right. It is on her, which is why I had to cut the relationship. But I don't think it was ever understood that the
Hmm.
reason I cut it was because at some point the decision as a female, as a mother, to not take it serious is serious enough for me to say I have to save my son and cut this.
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
not feeling like
I'll
you.
cut you off quick.
You can,
Family, mother, father, uncle, brother. I'll cut you off quick. I don't have time for the bull crap. I want to do better and I want to see you do better. So when it comes to the kids and I see some foolery,
yeah,
and I'm not even, I may seem real hard, but I love people so much. So, I do it in a way of, you need any pointers
right,
or, the child is telling you. 'Cause sometimes the kids tell it all.
yeah.
They tell
Oh
it all.
yeah, yeah. And that little boy,
They
he couldn't be babysat. Notice that he calling his mother by her first name,
the
and
kids
yet
tell it
nobody
all.
can watch him because he's that bad.
Hmm.
You think
And
that
I
those?
tell, because I had to do a check, I had to go and knock on a parent's door. The kids was being extremely disrespectful, kicking our door. It was going on for like 2 weeks. I had to go knock on her door. I was respectful, and the first thing she said is, "I don't know why they out here doing that. I'll be fucking them up." I said, "You ain't doing something right. You're
Right,
not doing it right.
right.
You might
Something
want to
right
find
is correct.
something else to do with them because they out here acting a fool." Had father rolled up on me, had to talk to him about his kids like 2 days later. He looking for hubby. He never came and knocked on the door. Still, it's been like over a week. The boy's been behaving. They ain't kicked the door no more and all that. Because I told her, it's gonna be a problem if hubby don't get his hands on them. The police or CPS will be knocking at your
Somebody
door
be
because
enforcing
they're
it.
out of control. You see where we are. They're gonna end up in the detention center. They bad, yo, bad, bad. And I don't never say kids are bad, but they're bad. So hopefully we'll see a change over the summer
Yeah.
because they've
Well,
been acting a little better
a little
in
better,
part, a little
right? In
better, a
part.
little bit. I told them I
That's
don't hesitate.
because
I told the kids too. I will do not hesitate. Y'all live right there. I will come and ring your bell respectfully and give you
mm-hmm,
ample amount of time to get them in order.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
like you
think
said,
that's
the embarrassment I'm sure
the
was
embarrassment. Yeah, that right there.
whatever. You should be embarrassed. You absolutely should be embarrassed.
Mhm. Oh,
That's called shame.
listen, the most embarrassing thing I think I've ever did with a parent on the whole shame thing was I seen a little boy smoking a cigarette and he lived across the street. He could have been like 9, 10 years old. And I said,
I was 12.
boy. So I walked across the street right then and there. I had my bags. I put them down. I went right across the street and I told the little boy I was telling his parents. I went across the
Hmm.
street and I told his parents, I said, did you know that your son is out here smoking? Hi. And they said, well, we smoke in the house. He might have gotten it from us. Now, mind you, I looked down and I seen cigarette butts everywhere. Okay, on their front. And so I'm like, okay, I just want you to know I seen that, and I think you need to talk to your child. Next thing
Hmm.
I know, maybe about a month later, like they moved, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like the way the parents shut the door was like to say, just don't call Child Protective Services. And then they felt like this isn't a good place for us to be. And then I noticed the child wasn't let outside anymore. They kept
Hmm.
the child in the house. And
Right.
I'm sitting here like, whatever y'all got going on in that house, you need to do something different. However, the fact that I had enough courage to come to you and say, listen, I seen this, and if i.e. you need to fix this now,
Hmm.
and I'm not
Hmm.
going to explain to you why a 9-year-old shouldn't be smoking a cigarette, whether
Right.
you smoke or not. Like when I grew up, my mother smoked, and I knew I wasn't going to be smoking, let alone where anybody could see me. But this boy
Hmm.
was just out in the open, walking around with his little cigarette, and
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
was that.
he don't have no shame because he
Yeah.
watching his parents not had no shame. So
Absolutely.
I'm like, look, now y'all got some shame because you think Child Protective Service is going to come in. I got you. So
Hmm.
this is what I'm saying. In the moment, we have to create consequences in the moment. Even if it's only
Absolutely.
just the direction that we observe it, and that's it.
Hmm.
I see
Right.
that, and that's it. Because honestly, like you said, you can't make people do right, but you can
Hmm.
make it hard for them to do wrong right in front of you.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
That's what you're getting
Yeah. I mean, and change behavior is the best, apology.
at.
You can't keep doing things and apologizing and continuing to do it. The
Right.
changed behavior is what it is. And like you said, Consequence is important. I mean, starting really young, man. They don't finish their food, you can't get a snack. It's just things behind everything. They have to earn TV privileges. They have to earn electronic privileges. They have to earn a phone and continually earn it. Parents are just giving these things. They're just giving it. You know how much a phone is to add onto your line? These kids need to know. They need to know. They need to work for that. I don't care if it's $44, nigga. You're gonna be working for that 44 damn dollars. You're going to be doing something because we're not teaching them to be responsible. And then when they become adults, they think everything's going to be taken care of for them. Most of them can't manage a life outside of their home. Rent is $1,600. These kids are not ballers. They front like they ballers, but they're not ballers. Why? Because we buy them Jordans. I used to hate, so I've been reprimanding parents for a long time. Right? Because we was all raising our kids together, and I would be a little like perturbed on why do you spend so much on sneakers? Why are we buying $65 Jordans for a foot that's going to grow in the next month? And then we're buying shoes too small. What's the problem? I used to hate that. What were you trying to make your children's feet look small? Why are we doing this? What's wrong with y'all? So this is nothing is new, sis. So, we're creating monsters by doing that.
Well, yeah, in its very infancy, we're
Oh my
creating
goodness.
monsters right there. And
Please
I
and
tell
thank
you,
you.
this phone business, like you said, the phones, because phones are so expensive, giving a phone to, let's say, somebody who's 8 years old because you just want their child to have a phone. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? I don't agree with that because here's the thing. Yeah, 8. Here's the thing. If you drop your child off at school, right, and you pick your child up from school, what reason do they need to have a cell phone? Okay?
Just in case a shooter comes into school.
But then by the time you get
some
there,
bull crap.
Right? So it's like
they're using it just for that.
Just for that, right? That's the excuse.
No.
But here's the thing: I didn't get a phone till I had a job, and my parents purposely said, "We're not paying."
I mean, we're a little older, so it's a little different. We didn't even have phones.
Yeah, we didn't have it. I think. Well, you know what?
We paid for ourselves. Yeah, anything we had, we paid for ourselves. Okay, school clothes. We had to work in the summer and get school clothes. It was a different time. You talking about poverty? Ain't nobody had money just to be given. You don't get no extra $2-3 to go for lunch. Yeah, this is why the boys had to go out and hustle because ain't nobody got no money. Mama ain't got no money, so I'm gonna get this money some way I can instead of teaching them to be responsible. You can go get a job in New York at 14. All other states, they gotta wait till 17. That is so stupid to me. They have no work ethic. You expect them to turn 18 and magically have this work ethic from 18 to 20. They have no type of work history. It's amazing. They don't have nothing for these kids. They should be working at 14. If you ain't in no type of sports or no type of team, little dude, you need to be working. The girls, y'all need to be doing something. Learning how to do some hair, hustling, entrepreneuring, working. Everybody need to be working. Damn kids is coddled too much. And it's kind of our fault. Because we the generation are not having, and in turn, now we have, and we're going to make sure our kids don't have. They're going to have everything. My kid going to be fresh to death. Fresh hairdo, wigs, nails, everything.
And now they messed up behind them.
And they're stupid as hell.
Yeah, on top of it.
They don't know how to add, don't know how to use their phone to find anything. It's amazing to me. Wait a minute. What do you mean? Did you just come ask me a question and you got this idiot box in your hand? Boop.
Right. Ask. Just Google it. Right.
Really? Really? Where do I find the application for whatever? Are you serious? How do I write a resume? You dumb fool. What do you mean?
It's bad.
Press the microphone. Press the microphone and ask it any question you want. How do I do this?
Right. It's bad now.
We had to search in the library. We had to go get these big ass encyclopedia books, that had everything in it, and they still do. Best place you need to go and spend some quality time is in the damn library. Smell a book, turn a page or something. Because these things are very unhealthy, and we don't know. We do not have what's going to happen in the future to our simple little brains, which we don't know much about now. Right. You wonder everybody's having all these brain aneurysms, and come on, y'all. It's too much. Have a little self-control, but the babies are doing this. The babies have this in their face. So I would tell parents to keep this out your kids' face to about 5 or 6. Monitor it well. No little devices. Let them watch certain
little stuff.
I mean, really monitor what they're watching because everything is being absorbed in that little mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be honest with you. It's getting harder, but at the same time, there are some tools to help. But I mean, my son is 13 and he wants a cell phone, and I've been like telling him, like I've been kind of kicking the can down the road because I know what you said about the always having the eyes here, and then the phone thing, and then it's like I'm
The
trying to keep
third one, the
up.
third one was way too early, and we had to deal with some backlash from giving that phone too early.
Yeah,
The
my
oldest
son
two
is
was different, and the 23-year-old didn't get a phone till maybe 16. And
my
this one that's
son
now 18 has had a phone since 13, which we could have waited. We could
yeah,
have absolutely waited 2, 3 more years. It would have been
right,
fine.
living fine.
You know.
Well, my son's doing that now. He's telling me, well, kids younger than him have
So
phones,
what? So what?
and
They
here's my
don't have
question. Here's my question.
Miss Oshun is not their mother.
Right. I'm like, who paying that bill?
I don't care what other mothers do.
I was like,
That's
who
what I
paying
tell
that
my
bill?
kids.
Like, I'm not paying that bill. Like, you understand how much a phone bill? My son don't understand because
Hmm.
you know what? I need to tell them to send the bill to the house because it's electronic. I said, send
Hmm.
that bill to the house so I can show him how much this phone bill is. I'm not paying no 2 phone bills for you and you ain't working.
Mm-mm.
Like, I'm not doing that. And he says,
No.
well, what if something happened? I said, listen, my monitor got a ring on it. Press the button.
There
Like,
you go.
don't you know
They
the
act like the school ain't got a phone or the person sitting
That's
next to you ain't got a phone in
what
class.
I'm saying. Like,
Come on now,
use
stop
the
it.
phone. But I have it in my house where even
Right.
if there's no phone in the house, he can press a button on the doorbell inside the house, and I can talk to him wherever I'm at. So he
That's
don't need
awesome.
the
Yes.
phone. He don't need a phone.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
sitting here like he got 2 computers. Talking about I need a phone.
Right. Everything. Yeah. A phone is just a little computer. So if you have
That's
a
all.
computer, he's good. He got a computer.
He got two
He can
computers.
get everything, messenger, all of that. You can still do everything you can do. I will hold out. You
But
just
but
being
see,
very wise with that.
they talking to me like I'm an old lady because I won't give him a phone, and I'm
Be an
like,
old lady. Let me tell you, because when they start to, I mean, because he got a laptop, so I mean, he can go
right,
down
he
the
got
rabbit hole.
laptop,
He
desktop.
can go down the rabbit hole as far as he wants, so it really don't matter. But
Uh,
having that thing on your body, like people don't. They used to say, don't wear it in your back pocket. Do you remember that? 10 years ago,
I remember that.
don't put it in your back pocket. How many of us women have so much reproductive issues because we keep them
That's
damn phones
right
in
there.
our back pockets, in our purse, and everything is close to our body? Like we're a sickly country. Yep. But you're not that healthy. You act like it. The whole world is obese. Like it's amazing.
It
So
is. It
it's
is.
real,
It
and
is.
now that's fact. That's not shame. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
The
don't feel
fatties are
shame
the
to have a
fats.
phone. Yeah, don't feel like you can't have a phone, but it is dangerous.
I had to
Honestly,
get that out.
yeah, it is very dangerous.
Been
Like for
shamed
health.
all my life. I have. I'm not lying. For real. For being skinny, absolutely. Somebody don't wait a second to point out how thin or skinny or whatever. And they say it in such a, how much I need to eat, or let me send you down south to my grandmother. You don't eat cornbread. Like, yeah, I done heard some shit. It's never
But
bothered
you
me because
know what?
I can care less.
But you
I
know
love
what?
my,
She said that's interesting. That sometimes, well, depending on when you were born, people would shame you, but it's like a body shame trend, right? Meaning, at some point, the shaming was when you were big. Like back in the 40s, if you were big, the shaming came in because you were big. You supposed to be
hmm
small. Now that women are small, the shaming has happened where you're supposed to be big. Now it then went back to size 2, fit, feminine, and friendly.
That's
And
right, because they can't tell the difference between a fat girl and somebody who got a whole bunch of surgery.
right. And
So,
so I
it's,
just
it's
find that
conflicting.
interesting how they shame people, body shame. But I know it's the body shaming changes depending on it's like the trend up and down, up and down, up and down to the point because I used to get it right.
Hmm.
I used to like privately spend money trying to keep up with the shaming, and then I realized, you know what? It's not shaming. It's just people that are shitheads. That's all it is. They're shitheads because this
I
is
say,
not
people, you care too much about what I look like. How about that?
right.
You
It's
care
not
too much
making me
about what
better
I
as a
look like.
person. It's just not. It's not
Why
making
you
me
so
better
worried
as a
about it?
person.
My skinny,
It's not. It's
right?
like
So
the
I'm not
culture
worried
is
about your
supposed to be.
fat, but you ain't got to point it out.
But that's the thing. It's like being concerned with how someone looks, right, versus how they present. It's like this is such a culture of it's shallow. So this is what I'm saying. It's like, are we shaming people based on morality or based on trends? That's what I'm saying. Like it's like
Morality for me, I'm not
you,
with trends. I've
right.
never been a
Like
follower.
if you're gonna shame me because of something I did that goes against protocol when it comes to what's right and wrong, cool. But if you want to shame me because I don't fit an aesthetic, or shame me because you say, well, I'm light skinned, you think I should be darker, or dark
Oh,
because
that was another one. Yeah,
right.
yeah, it was
It's
always
like
something.
this right here is this is as I say silly season, and people are they're 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 going knee deep into over the over the bridge, if you know what I mean, with the shaming tactics, because now you don't find it necessary to shame people to do right. You just want to shame people.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah.
like, what are you just shaming people
Yeah,
for?
I
Like,
get what
how
you're
they
saying.
look?
Yeah, my show ain't like that. You have to come through on a Sunday and check it out. I absolutely give a full reflection of what I'm talking about, the
Mhm,
type of behaviors I'm talking about, specifically, and it's usually geared towards women because I want women to do better.
mhm,
The men need to deal with the men, and I
mhm,
don't have no problem speaking to the women. You know what I mean?
mhm.
I might trickle in a little bit about the men, but usually it's focused directly on the women because I'm a
Right.
woman, and when it comes to these children, our minds need to be
A little better.
changed. It
So, yeah,
absolutely needs to be better.
yeah. I totally
And
agree.
it's on us. We can build us a nation, but we can absolutely destroy a nation, and we have been destroying this nation for some years now. And accountability needs to be held.
Hmm.
And if
Well,
we have been the leaders, everybody's, they want to sit up on this trophy pedestal of, women run the world, and women are, doing it all.
hmm.
Kids are fucked up, y'all. So you ain't been doing that goddamn good. So chill with all the damn accolades and wanting all this praise,
Hmm.
self proclamation. Like somebody else is supposed to say, you know what, you are a good mother. You
Right,
are a great person. You saying
right.
it yourself don't mean shit.
Don't
I'm
not
glad you feel that way about yourself. But
right,
somebody else is supposed to proclaim that,
right,
including your children.
right.
And they are swayed. They're absolutely biased because you can be a horrible goddamn mother. We've
Mm-hmm,
had some foster children parents in our eyes,
mm-hmm.
but them kids love them. First opportunity they get, they going back to mommy. You understand what I'm saying? So some kids don't see no wrong in mother
Right. And
at all.
that's facts right there. It is, and that's
Hmm.
why that's in part why someone asked me, was I a good woman, right, once online, and I told them I'm
Mm,
not going to tell you I'm a good woman. If you
mm,
feel, I told the person, I said, look, if you see me as a good woman, then you say I'm a good woman, but I'm not going to tell you my biased opinion of myself to say, oh, I'm a
right.
good woman. I could be a horrible woman, but to me, it seemed like I'm a good woman. So is
Hmm.
that a lie or not?
Right.
But people
Yeah.
felt like, well, Lola, if you can't say you're a good woman, then you must be a bad woman. And I was trying to express to them, no,
Yeah.
our protocol. It's like, let somebody else say it.
That's their lack of comprehension. You know what was going on. But I get what you say because I would have been like, well, I would consider myself a decent woman.
Right,
That's
decent.
how I would say that. I would consider
Decent.
myself a decent woman,
Hmm.
but somebody else would have to proclaim me to be a good woman, an
Right,
exquisite woman, a
right,
great mom,
right.
whatever,
Because some
good
people would
teacher.
look at me and say I wasn't a good mom because I was a teen parent. And they would say, well, obviously there was problems. So we wouldn't say you were a good mother as a teenager because you're a child. So that's why I wouldn't say, oh, I'm a
AJ, nothing
good
but a number. Again, my mother was 17 with three. Yo, she was quite responsible compared to the elders
yeah.
and the community of love that she had around her.
Right.
You
But
understand what I'm
see,
saying? And she was the
that
one
was
to say,
back then. And
"Nah,
I
I don't want to go sit outside and smoke with y'all. I'm gonna stay in here with these kids. Now I got the kids. Y'all go do whatever." You understand? So
right. At
you kind of
17 back then, they were a lot more
responsible than now.
responsible for that
Yeah,
now. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I
In the
give you that.
70s.
Yeah, they that is true. Back
Yeah.
then. Yeah. But now, Lord, child.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
17 with a child now,
No, because they're not as smart. I mean, they're not resourceful. They're
not
not
yet.
motivated.
Not
They're
yet.
lazy as hell.
Yeah.
They have no clue about the real world out there, yo, because they are fully aware of the privileges, especially girls. We're fully
Yeah.
aware of all of the privileges provided to us. We talk about this equality bullshit. I wasn't supposed to be on here too much longer, but that's a whole nother thing because
Right, right, right.
equality. You
Mm-hmm.
can have me back on. I don't mind coming back to build with you
No,
because
you
that's a
fine. You
whole
Yeah,
nother,
it is. I
whole
told you
nother thing
it's a
right
whole
there.
nother plan, and we got to
Oh,
open
that's a whole
later.
nother planet. The
I got it.
gentleman would love to hear that. Double standards. Miss She Said, I'm fighting for y'all because these
Right.
chicks is out of control. Please go work in the plumbing industry under the ground and build some of them pipes or something.
Right.
Ladies, see how many of you go clock into that clock, please.
Listen. I totally understand, and yes, we do got to talk about more. But I'm gonna stop through on Sundays, and what because when you guys are on, I think I'm in class most of the time.
Okay.
I'm in
It's
martial
usually
arts.
Sunday at 1.
Yeah, my
Sundays I
class
go on
is
at
all
1.
at one, so I might have to watch y'all on a restream. But
Hmm.
I'm
I
definitely
got
gonna.
quite a few good ones up there. I came back
Yeah,
swinging because
yes, you sound right. It's
I
sweet.
was recovering for a few weeks, from surgery. So I was watching a
Oh,
lot.
okay,
Like this is
okay,
just crazy, man.
yeah. Oh
Goodness
man,
gracious. It's
I
amazing
feel
what's happening out in this world. I feel for our kids, and I wish them the best. And, parents, if you want to do better and you strive to do better, reach out. Reach out. Because, Harris Tribe Media Group at gmail.com, always here to give some pointers or tips, anything that can help you, even just a go to bed regimen.
you.
Being consistent with that, your child will be sleeping within 2 weeks with no problem. But you have to do the work. You got to do the work.
The work.
You
Yeah.
can control them kids, goddamn. Let me tell you. Do it early, right? Do it early. Get it early, and they will be respectful, and they will understand. That's it, man. We
That's
got to bring some decent human beings here. Can't
listen.
be cussing in potty mouth and think they're gonna learn some vocabulary. Sorry, nope.
Listen.
They gonna sound just like your ass.
Listen. I totally understand, and we're gonna talk about it more. But yeah, I on this channel, I tend to want to talk about subjects that aren't necessarily talked about in the major sector because
Mhm.
that's just the niche that I like. I like kind of going, even though shame is not a weird topic. I like
Mhm.
to go
But you
deeper.
liked the Game of Thrones? Was that your
Girl, you know,
show?
first of all, let me
Ooh,
say
I
this.
loved it.
I stole the name Game of Dragons before they got it. Okay, you know I stole
Okay,
that, right?
okay.
I stole it because I said, you know what, the dragon is my spirit animal, and I said, you know what,
Mhm.
I'm a because Game of Thrones is all of them. I give it to them, but I said, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
I'm gonna take Game of Dragons because it was open, nobody had it, so I was like,
Right, right.
oh my god. So I went
Yeah.
and got it, and I went with the motif. But I said, you know what? I'm sure they're gonna come back and still take the
Mhm.
name because they got House of Dragons now. So I took
Right, right.
Game
Oh,
of
we love
Dragons.
it.
Yeah,
That's how I sucked
I'm
my husband in. He saw one of them dragons while I was watching it one time. He said, "Oh, I'm in. Wait, is dragons in this? Oh, okay." I said, "Yeah." Every time shame came up, I was like, "Look, slut shaming, get them bitches." Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I love it.
that was
I
the
mean, but it
that.
gives you a look on how times were, and I think that's where my
Yeah,
respect and adoration for men comes from. Like, this is a different world for us,
oh,
ladies,
it is.
and
Yeah,
we are taking advantage of it and running it to the shithole.
yeah, it
And
is.
it's a goddamn shame. So,
It's
you want some good old slut shaming? Come on over to Miss She Said every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and don't be afraid to hit that Cash App. I like to buy scientific STEM program stuff off of Amazon for the homeschool that we do with our child. I'm just saying
I
it
hear
ain't
that.
easy.
Yes. So listen, if you guys haven't, go ahead and head over there. She's Sundays at 1 o'clock Eastern
Hmm.
Standard Time. I think
Yeah.
that 4
That's
p.m.
the shame Sunday. That's just me. Mr. He Said has Cerebral Saturdays, and that's usually around 4 on Saturdays. And
Mm,
we join each other on Thursdays, every
mm.
Thursday at 8 o'clock. He said, She Said, Love and
I hear
Abundance
that.
at Harris Tribe Media Group. And I mean, we talk about everything from marriage to sex to current events. We have some game nights. We're quite different. We don't follow the trends. We don't do the pearly thing and all that other crap. We do our own thing. We got our own original content, shit we
That's
want to
so
talk about.
girly.
And if you want to come on and join, please feel free. Everybody's welcome. Give us some topics. We see if we
Mm,
want to wiggle them in. Just come on through.
mm. Well, listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for coming through.
I
And I
appreciate the
and I
invite.
and I love and I love the conversation and just hearing your perspective and getting a deeper just a deeper conversation going about this versus what
Mhm.
I have heard. And definitely I'm gonna catch you guys on the restream a few times
Mhm.
because we got to build like that. But you gave
Hmm.
me an idea for another show, but I'm gonna text
Okay.
you about that behind the scenes. It's something totally
Yes. Yes.
left field, but
Okay. Okay.
totally left field. But we're gonna get
Hmm.
into that. But I want to thank you again for coming through, and thank everybody else that showed up in the comment
Yes.
section.
Shout out to the
I
chat.
love you guys. And we're gonna catch you guys next time. Now I don't have any specific times I come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to put on the notification button so it can come up.
Yeah, because I don't have no specific times right now. I'm still an
Yeah.
infant out here, but
Okay. It's gonna grow. I'll try to
definitely
clip
that's
it
a
up.
good
Tell them
idea.
y'all better go on over. That's what we do.
That's a good idea for
That's how
real.
we
But
support
I
each other.
appreciate
It's free. It is so free to just press the freaking like button and the share button and the share button.
I
It's
always
free.
do that. It's an
Come on,
energetic
y'all.
exchange for me. When I
That's how
watch
we
a
support.
video, I click like just because I
Mhm.
watched it. Like that's
Yeah. I mean,
energetic.
and if you don't like it, you don't share it.
Right. It just click don't like. It's
Whatever.
still the
Come on.
algorithm,
Whatever. It's all good.
But you guys do all that, Mrs. She said. I'm gonna bid you farewell, and we're gonna catch up. But I'm about to
Yes.
shut this down. And
I appreciate you, love. Have a good Sunday and enjoy the rest of your week.
thank you so much. You too, and tell everybody I said hi.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm gonna catch you later. All right, guys. That is tonight. I guess we're gonna get some shame. Maybe not bring it back, but we're gonna get it. Just remember, don't be afraid to be honest in the moment. That's really where we at right now. So no matter what happened in the past, we're moving forward. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. I will be back. Turning notifications on because, like I said, there's no specific time I go live. But you will know if you subscribe and press that notification button. So until then, good night, and I will bid you guys a farewell. See ya.